Disclaimer. This show is for discussion and entertainment purposes only. The Finding Gnosis show is a platform for open discussion, exploration, and opinion sharing. The views expressed by hosts, guests, and participants are personal opinions and do not constitute professional, medical, legal, or financial advice. All topics discussed are only intended to spark curiosity, entertain, and encourage independent thought. If any subject interests you, we strongly advise conducting your own thorough research using reliable and professional sources. Critical thinking and due diligence is key. Stay curious, stay informed, be well, be lucky, and don't be an arsehole.
Through the cosmic indifference and through despair, we dig for meaning that might be there. No promises of comfort or bliss, just truths we strive not to dismiss. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break and deeper truths grow. Philosophy and thought light the way through the dark toward a brighter day. Not endless struggle, but a fight worth the cost, seeking the meaning we thought was lost. Pessimism asks, why even try? We answer with questions reaching the sky. A critique of the systems, the myths we hold, a reflection on truths both stark and bold. Depressive realism clears the haze, while hope takes root in critical gaze. We search for a path, no matter how steep, to find the truths that lay buried deep. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break and deeper truths grow. Philosophy and thought light the way through the dark toward a brighter day. Not endless struggle, but a fight worth the cost, seeking the meaning we thought was lost. Promise ease, we don't promise rest, but a journey to uncover what's best. In cosmic indifference we still find might, to question, to change, and to ignite. Welcome to Finding Gnosis, where truth takes a stand. Together we search, together we understand. Through reflection, critique, and bold exploration, we strive for meaning and revelation. The journey begins, the truths will unfold. This is the Finding Gnosis show. Through the cosmic indifference and through despair, we dig for meaning that might be there. No promises of comfort or bliss, just truths we strive not to dismiss. This is the Finding Gnosis show, where illusions break and deeper truths grow. Philosophy and thought light the way through the dark toward a brighter day. Not endless struggle, but a fight worth the cost, seeking the meaning we thought was lost. Pessimism asks, why even try? We answer with questions reaching the sky. A critique of the systems, the myths we hold, a reflection on truths both stark and bold. Depressive.
Oh, hello. Hello to everybody who is there. I do hope you're well. You can join the panel. So tonight, today, this morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are looking at the clock, we are going to talk about serial killers, maybe mass murderers, people who kill a lot of people, murder a lot of people. We're going to try and find out why they do it and hopefully how you can avoid being the victim of a serial killer or a mass murderer, um, because we wouldn't want that now, would we? So if you want to join, please do. The link is in the live chat. Do say hello if you're there, and if you're a new person, welcome to the Finding Gnosis show. Just a little online community where we just sit back and think about things and try to have a different perspective sometimes on what is going on, trying to find out the truth of matters, trying to find out the best way forward. Brother Marcus is here already. Thank you to you, Brother Marcus, for joining us. Greetings to you too. Salutations, Brother Marcus. Hopefully, you will get on to us this evening and share in our exploration. I did actually try to make some slides for this one, but time time was against me, and I never got to do it. Unfortunately, I was nearly there, but I had to cancel at the last second because unfortunately, unfortunately, there wasn't enough time. So anyway, I have got some slides, but I didn't make these ones. So let me just try and find them for you. Psychology of serial killers. We'll take that one, I suppose. Any other slides? Let's have a look here. My computer. Sorry, I'm just uploading them now. Isn't that great? Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that so fucking organized? Sorry about that. But yeah, just come on here whilst I'm trying to figure this shit out. My computer. Right. I don't know if any of these are going to be any good, but we'll try our best. Okay, we'll go for this one, I suppose. Let's have a look at this one. We'll go this way. Full screen, why not? Serial killers. This one is by Alan C.S. Let me just get rid of that banner there at the bottom. Things will work eventually. Hopefully. So what is a serial killer? A serial killer is traditionally defined as a person who has murdered 3 or more people over a period of more than a month, with some downtime between the murders. Some sources, such as the FBI, disregard the 3 or more criterion to define the term as a series of 2 or more murders committed as separate events, usually but not always by one offender acting alone, or including the vital characteristics of a minimum of 2 murders. Not to be confused with a mass murder. So there is a distinction to be made between a mass homicide and a serial killing. So we'll try and get into that later, hopefully. Who's this fella? Ahmed Siraji. Ahmed Siraji was a serial killer. Sorry, one second. Ahmed Siraji was a serial killer in Indonesia. Siraji, a cattle breeder born on the 10th of January 1949, was executed in 2008. He was known as Nasib Kilawang, or by his alias Datuk. He admitted to killing 42 girls and women over a period of 11 years. His victims ranged in age from 11 to 30 and were strangled with cable after being buried up to their waists in the ground as part of a ritual. Clearly a psychotic motherfucker. Siraji was arrested on May the 2nd, 1997, after bodies were discovered near his home on the outskirts of Medan, the capital of North Sumatra. He buried his victims in a sugarcane plantation near his home, with the heads of the victims facing his house, which he believed would give him extra fucking power. What the actual fuck? He told police that he had a dream in 1988 in which his father's ghost told him to kill 70 women and drink their saliva so that he could become a mystical healer. Seems a bit of a paradox there, killing to become a healer. Anyway, doesn't make much sense, but hey, is it meant to? The man was a fucking psychotic fucking serial killer. Oh, yeah, serial killer. As a sorcerer or dukan, women came to him for spiritual advice. Okay, so he was some kind of fucking witch that their locals used to go to, and unwittingly, they used to be part of his fucking black magic, literally. So they used to come to him for spiritual advice on or making themselves more beautiful or richer. Wow. He was really playing to base level fucking drives, wasn't he? His 3 wives, fuck me, he had 3 wives, and they were all sisters. So all his wives were sisters. He married 3 sisters. Were also arrested for assisting in the murders. Wow. So the ladies in his life, the romantically entangled ladies in his life, all assisted in his decrepit fucking evil. And they also helped to hide the bodies. And don't forget, he admitted to killing 42. One of his wives, whose name was Dumini, was tried as his accomplice. The trial began in December 1997, and there was a 363-page charge against him. And although Siraji maintained his innocence, he retained his fucking innocence. He was found guilty in April 1998 by a 3-judge panel in Lubak, Pakam, and he was sentenced to death by firing squad and executed in 2008. So he is no longer with us, thankfully. Then we got John Wayne Gacy. Now this motherfucker was a scary fucking cunt. Anyway, John Wayne Gacy is an American guy, wasn't he? I think. Also known as the Killer Clown, was a husband and a father, no less. A husband and a father. Who would have thought it? But he was also a repeated sex offender who victimized countless people during his lifetime. He was caught sexually assaulting 2 teenage boys in 1968 and sentenced to 10 years in jail. But due to his exemplary behavior as an inmate, he was released on parole after serving just 18 months. Once he was released from jail, Gacy briefly remarried, and they divorced when she discovered he was secretly a homosexual. How did she discover that? I wonder. And he also became a popular and jovial member of society. So he was a very popular guy, a man about town, apparently. After the divorce, anyway. He enjoyed dressing up as Pogo the fucking Clown and volunteering at children's parties, parades, and other community gatherings. He was a respected businessman and well liked by his neighbors. During the 6 years between the time he got out of jail and when he was finally arrested again for suspicion of kidnapping, Gacy murdered an astounding 33 young men. He buried most of the bodies in the crawl space of his house, in his yard, and later, when he started to run out of space, he dumped them in a nearby fucking river. He would lure hitchhikers, male prostitutes, and other young men and boys into his car or his home, and then he would torture, rape, and murder them. After he was arrested and the police found the bones in his home, or in his basement, Gacy issued a full confession and was executed in 1994. So let me just go to the comments here. Okay, yes, I don't understand that either. He maintained his innocence, and then, yeah, maybe during the actual police interviews, he maintained his innocence. I don't know, but then later on, he changed his mind. I don't know. What's this one? Okay, in 1967, this is Gacy again, committed his first known sexual assault on a 15-year-old boy. Gacy gave Gacy gave them alcohol and he persuaded him to perform oral sex on him. And 7 other boys were sexually abused over the following months, including one when Gacy encouraged the guy to sleep with his wife before blackmailing the boy into performing oral sex on him. I don't quite understand. Anyway, this is a very depraved individual, clearly. In 1968, Gacy persuaded one of his employees to assault another guy to stop him from testifying against him at his trial. Okay. Oh dear. So Gacy, some sick motherfucker who used to go around killing men, young men, probably sexually assaulting them, raping them, getting them drunk, strangling them, killing them, hiding the dead bodies under his fucking house and in the river nearby. And the same motherfucker used to dress up as a clown and lark about at children's parties in his local town. And he was a popular guy. We won't read much more about him. I mean, he's quite famous. Who's this person? Oh, this dude. Rodney. I'm not sure what his name is. I can't see his. I think I've seen this guy on a YouTube video before. Rodney Alcala. Okay, this is another motherfucker who is a serial killer. So apparently he's killed between 8 and 130 women, so they're not sure. It says here currently incarcerated. I don't know how long ago these slides were made. He might be dead by now. I don't know. Alcala lured women to their eventual death by offering to photograph them, and then he would strangle them until they lost consciousness, and he'd allow them to revive and then repeat the process multiple times until eventually killing them. Whew. He is known as the dating game killer because in the midst of the killing spree, when he was already a convicted rapist, he appeared. Oh yeah, this is where I heard about him. He appeared as a contestant on the dating game, and he won. In the end, the woman who chose him as her date on the show refused to go out with him because she thought he was creepy. So that's Rodney Alcala. Yeah, I heard about that. He was a convicted rapist, and then he became a serial killer. And he was a successful winner of a dating show, but the lady who matched him on the show refused to date him because she thought it was creepy. So let's just look up the video of him on the dating show. I'm going to try and find it now. Full episode, the dating game serial killer. Okay, so this is 9 minutes, right? We're not going to watch all of it, but we will have a peep at it. I'm going to skip the ad for you guys. Skip it. Okay. Right, let me go back to my StreamYard. Present screen. All right, sharing. So we're going to see an actual serial killer rapist now.
Well, let's see. Baxter #1 is a successful photographer who got his start when his father found him in the dark room at the age of 13, fully developed. Between takes, he might find him skydiving or motorcycling. Please welcome Rodney Alcala. Rod, welcome.
That's the motherfucker right there.
Very stage, a confirmed bachelor who believes in life, liberty, and the happiness of pursuit. He is an actor, a snorkel buff, and he's from New York, New York. Jed Mills. Jed, good luck to you. And bachelor #3 first became interested in acting when at 7 he played Frosty the Snowman in a school play. Now, years later, his agent keeps telling him there are just no jobs around for a balding, middle-aged snowflake anymore. That's not true. He works a lot. He's into music and soccer. Here is Armand Chiami. Armand. And those are 3 bachelors for the game, and we'll be right back to meet our young lady after this. Don't go away. And it's time to meet our young lady for game #1, and here she is. Here is a young lady with a wealth of experience. She once earned a living massaging feet, but she quit when her boss suggested that she work her way up. Then she taught school in Phoenix, Arizona, and now she's here to educate our 3 bachelors in the art of amour. Welcome, if you will.
So apparently this motherfucker killed between 8 and 130 of women just like this. Luckily, this woman got away from him. But anyway.
Sensational Cheryl Bradshaw. Hello, Cheryl. Don't sit down yet. Just a minute. Want to make sure everything is straight. You relax? You feel okay? All right. You know there are 3 bachelors over there. There'll be 1, 2, and 3. Ask them anything you like to find out more about them, except their name, age, occupation, or income. Okay? And we're going to start by having them say hello to you and see how they sound. Number 1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please?
We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl.
Okay. Number 2.
Hi, Cheryl.
That was the fucking serial killer right there. That's the motherfucker.
Name, age, occupation, or income. Okay? And we're going to start by having them say hello to you and see how they sound. Number 1, would you say hello to Cheryl, please?
We're going to have a great time together, Cheryl.
Does he look like a killer to you? Right.
Okay, number 2.
Hi, Cheryl. It's nice to almost meet you.
And number 3.
Cheryl. Hello.
A little bit creepy. The second guy was the least creepy.
Are you ready? Questions all set?
Oh, I'm all ready.
All right, please have a seat then. Cheryl, if you would, make yourself comfortable. When you're situated, you may begin. Good luck, gentlemen, and here we go.
Bachelor number 1.
Yes.
What's your best time?
The best time is at night. Nighttime.
Why do you say that?
When he's killing
Because that's the
people.
only time there is.
The only time? What's wrong with morning, afternoon?
Well, they're okay, but nighttime's when it really gets good.
Jesus, what a creepy motherfucker when you know what he's about.
Then you're really ready.
How about you, bachelor number 2?
Right now.
Right now, anytime. Right here in front of everybody, huh?
Now's the best time.
Anytime, huh? Okay, bachelor number 2. There's one thing I've been wondering about all my life.
Just one, huh?
Just one. What's the difference between a soldier and a sailor?
Well, soldier never gets his feet wet.
He never gets his feet wet.
I thought that was very good. Number 2.
I kind of like it.
Rim shot.
It takes a little time, you know.
Yeah, right.
Okay, bachelor number 3, sing me to sleep. And remember, I'm not your average baby.
Shanty lace and a pretty face and a ponytail hanging down. A wiggle and a walk and a giggle and a talk. Love makes the world go round.
Beautiful bachelor number 3. Just beautiful. Great voice. I'm a drama teacher, and I'm going to audition each of you for my private class. Bachelor number 1. You're a dirty old man. Take it.
Oh, come on, over here.
Oh, for fuck's sake, seriously. Can you believe this creep actually pulled women though, as well, in real life? That's the scare. That's the terrifying bit. You know, women went for these creeps. This creep in particular, the fucking serial killer, and you know, yeah.
We ought to go out and boogie.
Really?
Bachelor number 2. You're an innocent virgin maiden writing in her diary.
An innocent virgin maiden.
Yes.
Writing in your diary. Dear diary.
Dear diary, I'm longing not to be an innocent virgin maiden any longer.
In fairness, this guy is likable.
Yes. Bachelor number 3. You're yourself having a complete nervous breakdown after our first date.
Cheryl, why Why? Please come back and kiss me goodnight.
He said that before.
Bachelor number 3, I'm going to make you a star someday. A bachelor number 1, I am serving you for dinner.
Oh.
What are you
How ironic.
called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the banana, and I look really good.
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Peel me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Later, Bachelor 1, later. How about you, Bachelor number 2? If I was serving you for dinner, what would you be like?
It's the date.
More serial killer. Oh,
If you
hold
lost
on.
everything and had just 90 days to get to 6 figures in monthly cash flow.
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take 1.
Number 1, Bachelor number 1.
There's one happy serial killer. There's one happy fucking serial rapist and serial killer. His dreams have come true.
Bachelors for
Look at him
game number
smiling.
1, and here they are.
Sorry.
There they go. Oh, shucks. You didn't choose number 3 either, and he is
Uh,
number 1. Bachelor number 1.
There's the happy serial killer.
Well, I won't even ask any more questions about that. I'll just tell you something about the.
Now we'll go on to where he gets introduced to her.
Rodney, come on and say hello. Congratulations.
Was she instantly creeped out? I don't think so. Not initially. He must have said something to her soon after that.
Rod, you did it with a 1 answer. Well, as far as I can see, Cheryl and Rodney, it looks like the 2 of you may be involved in some sort of racket. So we're going to have you take it to the court. Oh, first, you'll receive tennis lessons from expert Naomi Besa of the famous Kirkwood Tennis Club. That starts. And you'll soon be chasing everyone off the courts. And to make sure you both look as professional as you'll become, complete tennis outfits will be provided by Bill Darling's Tennis Shop. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you.
Okay, so enough of the happy serial killer with the lovely young lady. So we have Michelle Pacerock, who says Al Qaeda, the dating game killer. His name was Rodney. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me all right? Yeah, he was a horrible man. Absolutely atrocious. I agree, Michelle. Nice to have you here, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. So there's the sick motherfucker. He looks a bit older there. It was actually hard to recognize him there. But yeah, that was him when he was younger on the dating show, obviously before he was caught. And that lady obviously had a lucky escape. She refused to go out with him because she thought he was a creepy motherfucker. Well done to her. We have Jeffrey here. What's his name? I watched a Netflix documentary about this guy, Dharma. Yeah, not documentary, drama series based on him. So anyway, over the course of 13 years, Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys. Worse yet, his murders involved rape, dismemberment, necrophilia. So that's like having sex with dead bodies, and cannibalism, eating humans. Despite the fact that several of Dahmer's victims managed to escape, he was not caught until one victim ran into the street and flagged down a police car. Once inside his apartment, police made a series of disturbing discoveries. Dahmer had been trying to create a mindless sex slave. Jesus fucking Christ. By drilling into the skulls of his still living victims. So he was trying to perform like a lobotomy on them. Jesus. When they died, Dahmer would perform grotesque acts on the bodies, including sexual assault and, in some cases, eating pieces of them. Dahmer was eventually brought to justice in 1994, and he was beaten to death by a fellow inmate at Columbia Correctional Institution, where he had been incarcerated. Well, I can't say he didn't have it coming to him, and he didn't deserve that. That's just my reaction. Anyway, Dahmer murdered at least 17 men, with the majority of the murders occurring between 89 and 91, so he's a busy guy during that period. Particularly gruesome murders, forced sodomy, necrophilia, dismemberment, cannibalism. Dahmer committed his first murder when he was only 18, okay, killing Stephen Hicks, a 19-year-old hitchhiker. Yeah, I saw that on the Netflix drama. Dahmer invited Hicks to his house and killed him because he didn't want him to leave. So he had this terrible fear of abandonment, obviously. Psychotically ill individual with a severe personality disorder, obviously. In 1988, he was arrested for sexually fondling a 13-year-old Laotian boy in Milwaukee, for which he served 10 months of a 1-year sentence in a work release camp. Okay, if only they'd kept him in there and not let him out. I mean, I do believe that certain crimes are, you know, there's no real such thing as rehabilitation once you do certain things. Like if you do something to a kid or something like that, I don't think you can be rehabilitated. I don't think you should be let out again. That's my view. It's not worth the risk, is it? If you do certain things, if you've proven to be dangerous like that, why should you be given a second chance, in my view? However, in 1988, there was not yet a law requiring offenders to register when convicted of a sex crime against a minor. So he was able to walk around without, you know, people being told that he was their next door neighbor, for example, or that they were moving to an area with a sex offender living there. He was under the radar. He convinced the judge that he needed therapy, so he played the mental health card, and he was released with a 5-year probation on good behavior. Shortly thereafter, he began a string of murders that would end with his arrest in 1991. In the early morning hours of May 27, 1991, 14-year-old Milwaukee Laotian Konarak Sinthansafon, sorry if I mispronounced that, the younger brother of the boy Dahmer had molested. Okay, so he was a fucking pedophile, obviously. There's lots of pedophilia in this man's litany of offences. Anyway, the younger brother of the victim was discovered on the street wandering around nude. Reports of the boy's injuries varied. Dahmer told police that they had an argument while drinking and that the youngster was his 19-year-old lover. Oh yeah, that's another thing that happened in the film or in the Netflix drama. Basically, the kid was only fucking 14 or something, and the police came to or saw him with the kid. Dahmer said that he was 19, and the kid at the time was off his nut on alcohol or drugs that Dahmer had been throwing into him. So you know, he was able to speak up, but yeah, he just weren't suspicious. They reported smelling a strange scent. The scent was later to be the bodies in the back room. And later that night, Dahmer killed that young guy and kept his skull as a souvenir. By the summer of 1991, Dahmer was murdering approximately one person each week. In July 1991, Dahmer lured another man into his home. According to the would-be victim, Dahmer struggled with Edwards in order to handcuff him, but Edwards escaped and alerted a police car with the handcuffs still hanging from one hand. Edwards led the police back to Dahmer's apartment, and the story of Dahmer's arrest and the gruesome inventory in his apartment quickly gained notoriety. Several corpses were stored in acid. Severed heads were found in his refrigerator, and implements for the construction of an altar of candles and human skulls were found in his closet. Accusations soon surfaced that Dahmer had practiced necrophilia, cannibalism, and possibly Sorry, I can't see that bit on my screen. And possibly a form of oh, it's the banner. My banner's in the way. Let's just move that for a moment. A form of trepanation in order to create so-called zombies. Okay, so that's the tapping into the person's skull and trying to break the connection between the brain hemispheres. I've got a few comments here. Yeah, how does that work with my view of determinism? Yeah, brother Marcus, I mean, you know, my emotive response is these people are fucked up, and you know, whilst it's true they didn't choose to be who they are, you know, people need to be protected from harm, and these people should be kept away from society. And I do wish that we had a better way of catching people before it happened. So before, I wish there was a way of predicting these things that was much better and didn't infringe on people's rights too much. But we'll get into that later on. Ultimately, I think that, you know, if people do something bad, like for example, this guy was a pedo, he should have been locked up and kept away from society. There's obviously a gravity here in terms of crimes. Being a pedophile is something that does cause serious harm to people. It's not like shoplifting, you know, or some random drunken criminal damage where someone smashes a car window or something of a parked car. This is something that can fuck someone's life up. So if it really is something that can fuck someone's life up, I think, you know, if it's that severe, then you've already shown they're not fit to be in society, and you should be taken out of it and put in some kind of criminal institution for the criminally insane, and, you know, fed and watered or whatever, but, you know, not let out again. It's the only way out, unfortunately. I mean, the risk is too dangerous. You know, the risk is if someone has those inclinations, in some way is that way inclined. Well, what's the point in risking letting them enact on their fantasies, their sick fantasies, enact their sick fantasies? You know, what's the point in letting them have the opportunity to do that? You know, I mean, the rational human being can declare that. How do I determine the threshold? Well, I mean, I'm not a criminologist, so you'd have to consult the criminologists for that. But I would say if someone has done something once, you know, that's a good threshold. If they've already shown they're a fucking pedophile or they're a fucking murderer or something, and they've been caught, I would say or a rapist, for example. I say that's enough of a threshold to say they shouldn't be out in society because they've already done something, you know. So if they've been caught, I would say it's probably not a good idea to let them out and about again in society, you know. I mean, a lot of these cases here, the victims like Gacy and this guy, fucking Dahmer, they had prior convictions for being a sexual offender. So clearly, if that had been taken more seriously and those individuals hadn't been let back out into society, then, you know, well, the other crimes wouldn't have happened, you know. But, you know, I don't know enough about the whole sex offenders register thing that goes on now. Maybe that is maybe that works. Maybe just making the people sign on every day, you know, at the police station, so you know their whereabouts. Maybe making them wear a tag, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe that works as well. Having some kind of, maybe they're doing it that allows them, like, someone to sound where they watched by a fucking artificially intelligent camera thing 24/7, and, you know, an alarm goes off whenever they walk outside a certain boundary or something. I don't know. Maybe there's a way of doing that, but yeah, maybe there is a way of doing it, but I'm not au fait with it. But it's interesting to think about. So, Brother Marcus, if coming into existence is a serious harm, then, and so on and so on. I'm just curious, different categories of harm and your views. Okay, can talk about that if you want to, or another day. We'll keep going, will we? Yes, Michelle says the strong abandonment issues. This Dharma chap, yeah. Well, when you watch the Netflix drama, I couldn't watch that. I couldn't continue. That was a gruesome fucking show, man. They showed a lot of gore in it, blood and shit. It was too much for me. I didn't watch it all, I watched a few episodes and I couldn't really watch more. Who's coming on now? Someone's coming on. I heard a little beep. Someone's here. Grim. Hello to Seb. You right, Seb? Or Grim, sorry. Are you there? I'm going to mute you because you're not talking. There you go. Right, we'll go on with the show and reading. Where were we? Anyway, the police discovered his horrible home after that Edwards guy luckily escaped from him. So we've got Ted Bundy here, one of the most famous serial killers. He was a good-looking guy and seemed very friendly and charismatic. However, behind his handsome face lurked the twisted mind of a serial killer, and between the years of 1974 and 1978, Bundy kidnapped and murdered 30 young women in the US. Those were just the women we know of. Experts agree that he could have been responsible for up to 40 disappearances and murders to which he didn't confess. Okay, so so that's like 70 altogether, possibly. To lure in his victims, Bundy would often pretend to be disabled or would pose as an authority figure. Other times, he would simply break into his victim's house and bludgeon them to death as they slept. After killing them, he would rape, torture, and dismember them, often keeping souvenirs like their heads in his apartment for months at a time. After a thrilling police chase, Bundy was finally arrested and brought to justice in 1979, and he was killed in the electric chair in January 1989 in Stark, Florida. Okay, so yeah, I read about this guy before, watched some videos about him on YouTube and such. Yeah, he escaped from. He was a terrible guy. He escaped from the court that he was in, and he went on a killing spree during his trial. Apparently. Another thing about him is he had lots of women writing him fucking love letters when he was incarcerated on death row, and I believe he even fathered a child whilst he was on death row. He had a visit and he got married to a lady, and he managed to get into a broom cupboard with her whilst he was on death row and copulated for a few seconds, and someone was born because of it. So it just goes to show you, even serial killers can get laid. Even serial killers can become fucking fathers, Scary stuff. Anyway, Ted Bundy is one of the most infamous serial killers in US history. Bundy raped, murdered scores of young women across the United States between 1978 and 1974 and 1978. After more than a decade of vigorous denials, he denied it all. He eventually confessed to 30 murders, although the actual total of victims remains unknown. Typically, Bundy would rape and then murder his victims by bludgeoning and sometimes strangulation. He also engaged in necrophilia. Oh my God, these people, man. He would approach a potential victim in a public place, even in daylight or in a crowd. So, for example, when he abducted Ott, the lady whose surname was Ott, and Nasland at Lake Sammamish, or when he kidnapped Leach from her school. And this is another guy who, some of these, I believe that some of them were like 14, 15 years of age, Bundy had various ways of gaining a victim's trust. Sometimes he would feign injury wearing his arm in a sling or wearing a fake cast. So this obviously made him look, vulnerable or, less imposing physically. Not a threat. As in the murders of Hawkins, Rancor, Ott, Nasland, and Cunningham. At other times, Bundy would impersonate an authority figure. He pretended to be a policeman when approaching Carol Daronch. The day before he killed Kimberly Leach, Bundy approached another young Florida girl pretending to be Richard Burton Fire Department, but left hurriedly after her older brother arrived. She made a lucky escape then. She got away, thankfully. After luring a victim to his car, Bundy would then hit her in the head with a crowbar he had placed underneath his Volkswagen or hidden inside it. Every recovered skull, except for that of Kimberly Leach, showed signs of blunt force trauma. Bundy would also often drink alcohol prior to finding a victim. On death row, Bundy admitted to decapitating at least a dozen of his victims with a hacksaw. He kept the severed heads later found on Taylor Mountain in his room or apartment for some time before finally disposing of them. Bundy also confessed to visiting his victims' bodies over and over again at the Taylor Mountain body dump site. He stated that he would lie with them, applying makeup to their corpses. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. And having sex with their decomposing bodies until putrefaction forced him to abandon the remains. That's one sick motherfucker, man. Okay, Jesus. Right, sorry, I'm having trouble seeing the slides here because of the the live sign is in front of the text. Anyway, so there's 5 court-appointed lawyers. He insisted on, despite being offered 5 court-appointed lawyers, he insisted on acting on his own as his own attorney, and even cross-examined witnesses, including the police officer who had discovered one of the lady's bodies. The judge, when passing sentence, said, "It is ordered that you be put to death by a current of electricity. That current be passed through your body until you are dead. Take care of yourself, young man. I say that to you sincerely. Take care of yourself, please. It is an utter tragedy for this court to see such a total waste of humanity as I've experienced in this courtroom. You're an intelligent young man. You'd have made a good lawyer, and I would have loved to have you practice in front of me. But you went another way, partner. Take care of yourself. I don't feel any animosity towards you. I want you to know that. Once again, take care of yourself." That's a very strange thing to say by the judge. I mean, he wouldn't have said that to anyone else. So I don't know why he showed that kind of level of favoritism.
I reckon it would be due to Ted Bundy's charisma. It seemed like the charisma might have smitten over to the judge as well.
Yeah.
As Michelle Pacework says, Ted Bundy blamed all his crimes on
pornography, yeah.
Yes. And I think he did it in order to not be executed. He did it to...
He was trying to save his life.
He tried to plead mentally ill.
Right, yeah. He was hoping for that last reprieve call from the governor to say not to do it because he was mental or whatever. So Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway strangled at least 71 women in Washington State during the 1980s and 1990s. His first 5 victims were discovered in the Green River, which is how he earned his nickname, the Green River Killer. He was finally arrested after DNA evidence, thank God for DNA evidence, linked him to several missing women, and he took a plea bargain to avoid the death penalty. In exchange, Ridgway agreed to disclose the location of all his victims' bodies. Ridgway would pick up prostitutes and runaways and earn their trust by showing them a photo of his son, and then he would strangle them either with his bare hands or with ligatures. He would often return to the bodies to have sex with them or arrange them in various fucking poses. Jesus. Despite having an IQ of only 82, okay, so he was a bit of a Dumbo. Well, he was well below average. 800 is the average, apparently. Ridgway managed to avoid being caught for over a decade until he was finally caught in November of 2001. And at the time these slides were made, Ridgway was still alive and serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole in Washington state. I don't know his whereabouts now. Anyway. We've got Ed Gein, who bears a remarkable resemblance to a motivational speaker. I won't name him, but in that picture he does anyway. Though Ed Gein only confessed to 2 murders and does not fit the typical definition of a serial killer, his horrific acts have made him the inspiration for countless horror stories, including Norman Bates from Psycho, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and James Gumb from The Silence of the Lambs. James Gumb. Okay, so Ed Gein lived in Wisconsin with his mother and his brother. He was suspected of murdering his brother, but police could not prove it. After his mother died, Gein began visiting the local cemeteries, digging up the bodies of middle-aged women who he thought resembled his mother, and assembling a woman's suit, oh, Jesus Christ, out of their skin. He eventually killed 2 local women, and when police came to his home to investigate, they found body parts everywhere. Police discovered human noses, vulvae, so parts of the vagina, skulls made into bowls, skin masks, human heads in sacks, lamps and chairs upholstered in human flesh, organs in the refrigerator, and a belt made of human nipples. And you thought you had fucking problems. Gein was arrested in 1957 and spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital after being ruled criminally insane. He died of heart failure and cancer in 1984 at the age of 77. And then we've got Henry Lee Lucas, once listed as America's most prolific serial killer. Henry Lee Lucas, Jesus, killed at least 350 people over the course of 20 years, though he confessed that he was involved in up to 600 murders. Lucas was the inspiration for the movie Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. After murdering his own mother, Lucas spent 10 years in jail, but was eventually released due to overcrowding. So there you go. He did something bad once, then he got released and he continued. So, you know, statistically speaking, if you do it once, you know, there's a likelihood you could do it again. Once he got out, he became a drifter in the southern states of the United States, making friends with Otis Toole, a man who would become his accomplice in over 108 murders and other crimes. In 2001, he died of natural causes in prison at the age of 66. Okay. Alien Wuornos, this is one of the few female serial killers on record. Alien was a prostitute. He murdered at least 7 men between 1989 and 1990. Charlize Theron won a Best Actress Academy Award for her portrayal of Wuornos in the movie Monster. Well, I haven't seen that film. Anybody seen it? Is it worth watching? Wuornos lived a life of abuse and neglect, having a baby at age 15. Probably by, you know, an older guy, obviously. They do say that a lot of teenage pregnancies, women who have, or children who have teenage pregnancies, it's often by a much older guy, like a guy like 5 to 10 years older than them. It's not usually by someone the same age as them. Anyway, her kid was put up for adoption, and obviously that would have troubled her. And she was also engaging in an incestuous relationship with her brother. She had a terrible life. She was briefly married and spent time in jail for petty robberies and assault. And what did we learn in our criminology look at crime there a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week or the week before? We learned that if you're around criminals, you know, you're more likely to become one. You just by mere merely surrounding yourself by criminals, especially as a developing youngster, you are more likely to become one. During her years of prostitution, Warnes shot and killed 7 men who she claimed were trying to harm her during their sex sessions. I mean, it could be true. Who knows? Maybe they were. Warnes was arrested in 1991 and confessed to the murders 3 days later, and she was killed by lethal injection in 2002. And apparently, lethal injection isn't always a nice way to go, so I've read. And it's quite painful, apparently, sometimes. And we have this guy, Richard Trenton Chase, nicknamed the Vampire of Sacramento. Richard Trenton Chase was most famous for drinking the blood of his victims and eating parts of their bodies. So another cannibalistic motherfucker, sick motherfucker. He killed 6 people over the course of 1 month in Northern California in 1977. Chase spent time in a mental hospital after being caught capturing small animals and devouring them raw. Jesus, sometimes blending the corpses with Coca-Cola in a blender to make a fucking milkshake. After being treated with antipsychotic medications, he was released, and that's when he started killing humans. Yeah, you better lower that. You better bring that threshold to include animals as well, then, Brother Marcus, if they're doing sick things like that, I mean, yeah. He shouldn't have been out and about, in my view. Chase murdered 6 people, including 2 children, and engaged in sex with their bodies after he murdered them. He would also drink and bathe in their blood and eat their internal organs. Chase was finally caught in 1979 after murdering an entire family. His defense tried to get him a lesser charge due to his history of insanity, but a jury found him guilty and he was sentenced to death by the gas chamber. He killed himself in jail in 1980 by saving up his prescription antidepressant medication and taking a lethal overdose in his cell. There's a little kind of, I'm not going to read that, it's just like more about that Chase sicko, and we've kind of heard what he did already. Pedro Rodrigo, is it? I can't see that because of the Finding Gnosis sign there. Pedro, anyway, was convicted and sentenced to 128 years, but the maximum one can serve in Brazil is 30 years. Okay. He claimed to have killed over 100 victims, 47 of them inmates, so he killed a lot of people while he was in prison. He also killed his father, and he ate a piece of his dad's heart. He killed his first 2 victims at the age of 14. He was first arrested in 1973. Pedro said that his first urge to kill happened at the age of 13 during a fight with an older cousin. He pushed the boy into a sugarcane press. The boy almost died. At the age of 14, he murdered the vice mayor of Alfenas, Minas Gerais, because he had fired his father, a school guard. At the time, his dad had been accused of stealing the school kitchen's food. Then he murdered another guard, supposedly the real thief. He took refuge in Mogi das Cruzes in Sao Paulo, where he began a series of burglaries and murdered a drug dealer. There he also met Maria Aparecida Olympia, a woman he then lived with. And this is when he was a very young dude. He was like 14 years of age. They lived together until she was killed by some gang members. Pedro escaped in search of revenge for her death. He murdered and tortured several people in an attempt to find out the identity of the gangster who had killed Maria. Before he was 18 years old, he had already left a trail of 10 bodies and several injured. Still in Mogi das Cruzes, or however you say it, Cruzes, he executed his own father at a local prison after his father butchered his mother with a machete. To get revenge, Pedro killed his father, cut out a piece of his heart, and chewed it, and then threw it away. So we got another dude here who was a sick motherfucker. This one is a Ramadan. I don't know what his surname is. Again, I can't see it. Apologies. But he was a gang leader known as the Express Train. He raped and tortured homeless children, mostly boys, aboard the trains between Cairo, Alexandria, and Beni Suef. I believe that's Egypt now, right? Well, Cairo's in Egypt anyway. The victims were usually thrown off the moving train when they were dead or in agony, and other times they were thrown into the Nile, Egypt, or buried alive. He was a street gang leader and serial killer, and he killed at least 32 children. According to his confession, Mansour soon learned the method of getting back on those who crossed him by raping them, and murdered anyone who threatened to go to the police afterwards. One of the victims, 12-year-old Ahmed Nagai, had been a member of Mansour's gang, so he was a gang leader as well. When Mansour tried to sort him, Nagu reported him to the police, and Mansour was arrested but was released due to a lack of evidence. Soon after, Mansour raped and murdered that poor guy in retaliation, according to prosecutors. Mansour and his gang members lured street children into the carriage roof of trains, where they then raped and tortured them and tossed them on the trackside. Okay. So then we have Jack the Writer, the Vienna Strangler. Number of victims 10 to 15, 1974 to 1992. Punishment life, imprisonment, and he committed suicide by hanging, obviously in jail. He killed prostitutes by strangling them with their own underwear. And after entering prison for such crimes, he was discovered to be an excellent writer. Oh my God, and many campaigned for his release from prison. After his minimum 15 years were served, he was released, and once again, here's another example of people who've done something terrible and then they keep doing it. He was released and once again began killing in the same manner as before, landing him right back in prison. Yang. Okay, this guy would enter victims' homes at night and kill everyone with axes, meat cleavers, hammers, and shovels. He was executed in February 2004. He's known as the Monster Killer. He was sentenced to labor camps for theft. So he had previous criminal charges against him, but of minor compared to obviously what he did later on. But he was also, he was also sentenced to 5 years for attempted rape. More obviously very serious. Yang's killings took place between 1999 and 2003 in the province of Anhui, Hebei, Henan, and Shandong of I think China. At night, he would enter his victim's home and kill all of the occupants, mainly farmers, with axes, hammers, and shovels, sometimes killing entire families. Each time he wore new clothes and large shoes, obviously trying to confuse people with different clothes so they wouldn't know who he was. In October 2002, Yang killed a father and a 6-year-old girl with a shovel and raped a pregnant woman. He was arrested, confessed to 65 murders and 23 rapes. Later it was discovered he'd contracted HIV from one of his victims. Probably passed it on as well. He was found guilty of 67 murders and 23 rapes and sentenced to death. There you go. Ukrainian Andrei Chikatilo, butcher of Rostov. Yeah. Chikatilo first killed a 9-year-old girl in 1979, and he killed at least 52 women and children between 1978 and 1998. He was executed in 1992. Quite an insane-looking dude. He was in and out of jail and suspected of crimes for many years, but there was never enough evidence to put him away for good. Finally, in a well-orchestrated police snare, Chikatilo was caught in 1990 and eventually confessed to killing 36 people. He was charged with killing 53 women and children between 1978 and 1990, and convicted of 52 murders in 1992. In 1994, he was executed by a single gunshot wound behind the right ear. Okay, yeah, that's all about him. I mean, I could go on reading about these sick motherfuckers, but I think I've had enough of this now. And we'll try and look at, like, the psychology, perhaps, unless anybody wants to come on and, you know, say their piece about serial killers. The psychology of serial killers, okay? Delving into the complex and often disturbing minds of serial killers, this presentation explores the psychological factors that drive these individuals to commit their horrific crimes. What is a serial killer? A definition. A serial killer is an individual who has murdered 3 or more people with a cooling off period between each murder. So obviously it's not just a once-off. And there's a repetition. Motive. Serial killers are often driven by a combination of psychological, emotional, and sometimes sexual factors rather than a single clear motive. And victims. Serial killers typically target a specific type of victim, such as a certain gender, age group, or occupation. Characteristics of a serial killer. There's a lack of empathy. So serial killers often display a profound lack of empathy and emotional connection with their victims and the people around them. And I think that's what's most chilling, isn't it? I mean, the fact that they could do these types to someone. I mean, if you have empathy at all, it's horrifying. The way it's like they see these women or these children as objects, you know, with no feelings. And either that or they enjoy the fact that they have feelings, and they enjoy that they're hurting them. There's a sadistic nature in it as well, perhaps. Narcissism. Many serial killers exhibit a grandiose sense of self-importance, a deep need for attention, and a lack of remorse or guilt. I suppose Ted Bundy is a classic example of that. You know, he was grandiose, and you know, the way he chose to defend himself in court. He chose to be his own representation in court. He didn't have any. And he was definitely grandiose. And impulsivity. Serial killers may act on impulse with little planning or forethought, driven by their immediate desires and urges. I suppose there's a spectrum there, because some of them, as was said earlier in these slides, weren't that smart. There's one guy there with an IQ of 82. Ted Bundy was a little bit clever, apparently. He was quite clever. He could have been a lawyer, according to the judge. So he was quite clever. And I suppose, but he was still obviously impulsive. He still killed people due to this, animal desire in him. And seemed to do it like he seemed to be out of control, because at one stage when he was representing himself in court, he was given access to the law library to study for the case. So he used to go in there to read the law books and put together his defense. And apparently he climbed out the window of the toilet in the law library in the courtroom, and in the courthouse, and went on another killing spree. So that's clearly an example of his impulsivity, his uncontrollable urge to kill. But you know, someone like him who was intelligent, I suppose, planned it a little bit better than that guy with the 82 IQ, perhaps. The McDonald triad and childhood trauma. Okay, so the McDonald triad is something that looks at what is involved in a developmental period of a serial killer's life. You know, when they were a youngster, what do they get up to that helps you predict that this person could become a serial killer or is indicative of a future serial killer. And there are actually three things apparently that were quite common or are quite common in serial killers as children, as behavior by them, behavioral characteristics, behavioral things they've done as children, things they do as children. Now, number one is cruelty to animals. The McDonald triad suggests that a history of cruelty to animals during childhood may be a precursor to more violent behavior later in life. So we're talking, you know, really horrible, you know, torture and just killing of animals, you know, not having empathy for animals as children. It's very unusual for a child to want to kill animals and to torture them. Clearly, that is a very worrying trait in a young individual. So, but apparently, this is one of the traits that some of these serial killers have in common as youngsters. Also, arson. So, setting fires. Okay, they're kind of pyromaniacs. They want to set fire to buildings, and setting fires is another behavior often seen in the childhoods of serial killers. It can also be a cry for attention or a way to cope with emotional trauma, apparently, according to the psychologists. And then there's a third characteristic in this McDonald triad that is that can help predict future serial killers, or at least exemplify a pattern of behavior in youngsters that you know, shows they could become a serial killer, I suppose. Enuresis, which means apparently persistent bedwetting, so someone who pees the bed. And this is the third component of the McDonald triad, and it may indicate deeper psychological issues stemming from childhood neglect or abuse, apparently. I mean, I've heard this before. I've heard that youngsters who just keep wetting the bed, apparently it's to do with some kind of trauma or abuse, unresolved. And this habit of peeing the bed relentlessly, you know, not growing out of it and just continuing to do it all the time, in line with the pyromania, the arson, and the cruelty to animals, is indicative of, you know, a potential future serial killer. Paraphilia and serial killers. Okay, paraphilic disorders. Many serial killers exhibit paraphilic disorders, which are atypical sexual interests or behaviors that can contribute to their violent actions. Okay, so we've seen that in some of these guys were, well, Jeffrey Dahmer and Gacy were homosexuals. I'm not saying that's a paraphilic disorder, but you know, I think Jeffrey Dahmer was ashamed of being a homosexual, and that might have led to some kind of psychological disorder in him, and it might have contributed to his killing sprees. Same probably for Gacy, because he was a closeted homosexual. He was married to a woman as a cover, and maybe it's, you know, society somehow made them feel guilty or self-loathsome, and maybe that did contribute to their later killing sprees. I don't know. There's also sadism. Okay, there's the desire to inflict pain on or humiliation on others, often for sexual gratification, is a common paraphilia amongst serial killers. So yeah, definitely the sadism is it's quite obvious in some of the cases we've heard about tonight. The fact that sick bastard, the dating game killer, whatever the fuck his name was, He used to strangle the women and then revive them and then strangle them again. I mean, that's clearly sadistic shit. And then there's a necrophilia. Yeah, all these sick fuckers seem to want to shag dead bodies. So that's the attraction to sexual activity with corpses. And it's another paraphilia that has been linked to certain serial killers. And then there's a fetishism. So the obsessive focus on specific body parts or objects as a source of sexual arousal. And it can also be a factor in some serial killer cases. So deviances from the norm, severe deviances from the norm. So then there's two types of serial killers apparently. There's the organized versus the disorganized. Okay, so the organized serial killer, these serial killers are methodical, okay, intelligent, and leave little evidence behind. They carefully select their victims and plan their crimes. One that comes to mind for me is Dr. Harold Shipman. It's a famous case in the UK. He was a doctor of medicine, a GP, a general practitioner, and his job was to guard the health of people, but he ended up killing at least over 300. I mean, he's the biggest, he's the largest he's the biggest serial killer in the UK. He's killed well over 300 people. I think mostly old women, I believe, and he used to do it by going to their home and giving them some kind of overdose. And he was clearly very methodical. He knew what he was doing, and I can't remember how he got caught, but he got away with it for a hell of a long time, decades. He was clearly very methodical. He was an intelligent guy as well. Obviously, he was a doctor. So that's the organized serial killer. Then there's a disorganized serial killer, who's in contrast to the organized. Disorganized serial killers are often impulsive, exhibit more erratic behavior, and leave behind a chaotic crime scene. So obviously both deranged, but I would say the organized one is, I don't know if it's right to say they're more psychopathic, but they're definitely more cool, calm, and collected, and more scarily, self-controlled in how they do their things. They're not, there doesn't seem to be as much chaos in how they carry out the murders. They're very well planned, and the disorganized individual is obviously psychotic, erratic, chaotic, and all over the place. And I suppose it would come as no surprise, I'd say, that the disorganized killers are probably more likely to be caught by the police, because they probably, due to their disorganized nature, probably leave more evidence, and maybe they don't think too much about hiding the crime or the consequences of their actions, because they're purely impulsive and they're not thinking about the future, or that they're just thinking about killing in that moment. Profiling, understanding the differences between organized and disorganized serial killers is crucial for developing accurate psychological profiles. Okay, famous serial killer cases. We've read about Ted Bundy, the charming, intelligent serial killer who murdered numerous young women in the 1970s. And then John Wayne Gacy, we've read about him as well, known as the Killer Clown. He murdered at least 33 young men and boys in the 1970s. And Jeffrey Dahmer, we also mentioned him. He's a serial killer sex offender who murdered and dismembered 17 men and boys in the 1970s and 80s. Serial killers' modus operandi. Okay, so number one, there's a victim selection. Serial killers often have a specific type of victim they target based on factors like age, gender, or occupation. Okay, so it's not like random. They have some weird fetish or gripe against a particular type of human being. So it could be street prostitutes is common. It could be young gay men is another one, apparently. That's a common one that we've seen in some of these cases. Children, unfortunately. Occupation as well. Well, that's another thing that crops up here, They obviously have sometimes some kind of stigma against certain individuals, a hatred against certain people who do certain jobs. So there's a psychological reason they're selecting the person or that type of person. And they generally, I've heard it's like intra race. So it will generally speaking be a white person killing white people, I believe. And also they don't really go out. So if it's a white woman that's killed, it's generally going to be more white women that are killed, or a black woman that's killed, it's going to be more black women that are killed. That's just the way it goes, unfortunately. There's a pattern. The crime scene. The way a serial killer sets up and leaves a crime scene can reveal important clues about their personality and their methods. I suppose that would show whether they're organized or disorganized, how methodical they are. And I believe some of these sickos used to leave like they used to. It was almost like a game. They left the body in a certain way, and some of them, they're narcissists. They want to be remembered for what they're doing. They want to see in the news. You know, they get enjoyment out of it. You know, they get enjoyment out of the fear they're creating and the terror they're creating in society. And then there's a post-mortem behavior. Like this is after the death. There's a distinction here between different types of serial killers. Some serial killers engage in disturbing post-mortem activities, such as keeping body parts or revisiting the crime. I mean, what we just read about Ted Bundy, for example, going back, having sex with the decomposing bodies until the bodies were literally falling apart, maggots coming out of them. So then there's profiling serial killers. Obviously, this is very important. Criminologists will do this to try and prevent serial killers from being a thing in society, and obviously police have to do it after the fact when a crime has occurred to try and catch them. So there's a behavioral analysis. So this involves a detailed analysis of a serial killer's actions, habits, and psychological traits, and it can help law enforcement create an accurate profile. Okay, so you will be looking for individuals who've done crimes before, by the sounds of it, because a lot of the individuals we've read about tonight have had priors, so they've been sexual offenders or been involved in, generally sexual offences or attempted murders before. And generally there's a type as well. I mean, statistically speaking, it's mostly more likely to be a man, more likely to be white. I mean, these are things that will go into the profile, but not in all cases, obviously, but more likely. And there's stuff like ages, but anyway, that's not necessarily behavioral. That's we're talking about actions and habits here. Okay, actions and habits. Crime scene evidence. Carefully examining the physical evidence left at the crime scene is crucial for understanding the killer's modus operandi. Okay. Victimology, studying the characteristics and connections between the victims can prove insights into the serial killer's motivations and preferences. So who do you have to protect? What type of person has the serial killer murdered? It is indicative of who is at risk. Is it a child? Is it a woman? Is it a gay man? Do you have to set up patrols in red light districts? Do you have to warn people who frequent gay bars? Do you have to provide security at schools or playgrounds? These types of things. Do you have to do police patrols in certain areas because this type of individual is more likely to be a victim of a serial killer or an ongoing serial killing spree? Preventing and catching serial killers, early intervention, identifying and addressing potential risk factors such as childhood trauma and mental health issues can prevent individuals from becoming serial killers. So, if a therapist or psychiatrist or family member or friend sees that someone has some of the traits, or has they learn that, for example, a friend's children is a bit of a pyromaniac or an arsonist or is abusing animals, or is like really, really sadistic in some way. Well, clearly these kids need help. They need to be brought to the attention of authorities, and they need a therapeutic kind of chance of being healed in some way. I mean, sometimes people get better apparently and don't. They need to be shown a better way, or they need to be given love. Perhaps they need to be protected. Perhaps they're being abused. Perhaps that's why they're playing up. Perhaps their parents are abusing them, or their family life is bad. So they need to be taken, maybe ward of state. Maybe they need to go into care and looked after, and hopefully that will prevent them from becoming serial killers later in life. Collaborative approach. Effective serial killer investigations require close cooperation between law enforcement, mental health professionals, and other experts. Technological advancements. Advances in forensic science, data analysis, and criminal profiling techniques have greatly improved the ability to catch and convict serial killers. So yeah, there's obviously lots of advancements in forensics, DNA analysis. That's amazing, and people can be caught because of that. And also criminal profiling techniques. You know, we're all just walking algorithms. We're all just walking sets of probabilities. And if you have enough information on everybody, you can kind of predict things as to how people will behave, what type of person will do this or that. And then the authorities can cast their net in the right area and hopefully catch someone who is a serial killer. So that's the end of those slides. We'll see if there's any other slides. How are we all doing, guys and ladies? Okay. What's this one? Forensic killers, forensic psychology. I don't know what this is going to be like, so there's Steve Godfrey and Yerf Dogs in the comments. This is live, D-Prophet. Anybody want to come on here? You can do. You can hear me, right? Can you hear me? My little grey thing isn't moving on my my little icon here. No fighting in the comments, please, or you will be banned. I will ban you, Steve Godfrey. That person pretending to be Steve Godfrey. Right, serial killers, forensic psychology. Forensic psychology, where law meets the study of the mind, and you'll find the forensic psychiatric or psychological professional. Psychiatrist, yes, a medical doctor who's involved in the treatment of the psyche or the mind. And the psychologist is not a medical doctor. They're involved in the study of mind and behavior and giving a therapeutic, talking solution. Both are mental health professionals, and they have expertise in and the way in which it affects behavior and well-being. Okay. The law and medical aspects of crime are often at odds. Okay, so obviously the law wants to keep people safe, and medicine wants to keep people healthy, or to cure people. And there's also, it gives a kind of biological reason why people behave the way they do, or a psychological reason. And the law, generally speaking, is involved in the blame game. Trying to prosecute, trying to keep people safe, and there is a kind of there's a conflict, or sometimes there's a problem between the two. They can be at odds with each other. So the question is often asked, is the person competent to stand trial or not? I mean, we've all heard of people who've been declared insane and got away with a murder, perhaps because of insanity, and other people go to prison for it, even though they seem to be of the same kind of state of mind. So the role of forensic psychologists is in the assessment of mental states for insanity pleas in court, the competency to stand trial, sentencing recommendations for the judge, valuations of the risk of reoffending, testimony as an expert witness, and child custody evaluations as well. types of murderers. So there's 3 types apparently of murderer involved in these are murderers that kill multiple people. Okay, so number 1, there's the mass murderer. The spree murderer is number 2, and number 3 is a serial killer, which we've already spoken about tonight. A mass murderer, this is a distinction. Okay, this is the definition of a mass murderer. Mass murderer is someone who kills 4 or more people in one place at one time. Okay, and a mass murderer has a clear agenda. They know why they're doing what they're doing. There's no cooling off period. Okay, so they don't actually go do it again afterwards. There's no kind of like repetition like the serial killers. They have a clear agenda. They want to kill people for a reason. They want to. It says here they may want to send a message. Okay, and in their view, a lot of the time, the mass murderer wants to create an immense effect. Okay, a public outcry to spread fear, and it's maybe not about the individual victim sometimes, but about the effect that it sends out in society. Okay, and the mass murderer's psychology is such that the higher the death toll, the better the job done. And typically, mass murders end with the death of the perpetrator. Okay, so it's like death by cop, suicide, or killed by the law enforcement. So, I mean, we've seen these types of things where you get like some sicko, a mass shooter, or someone who's going around stabbing people, and they just stand around on the street or in the building where they're doing the killing spree, and they just kind of keep doing it, and they're in full knowledge that they're going to be killed or that they're going to get shot or murdered. They generally don't give up. They don't put their weapon down. They just keep trying to kill until they are killed by the police. Hopefully, the sooner the better, for everybody's sake. So we've got some famous mass murderers. In August 1966, we had a case of Charles Whitman. He killed 14 people and injured dozens in a shooting from the top of a tower on the campus of the University of Texas. The entire episode lasted 90 minutes until he was taken out of it himself. Then in 2012, there was a James Egan Holmes who killed 12 and injured 58 in Aurora, Colorado during a midnight screening of Dark Knight Rises. I think I remember this, the cinema killing spree. The entire episode lasted 7 minutes. And in 7 minutes, he killed 12 and injured 58 poor individuals. Other famous examples include in 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. They murdered 13 and injured 21 in a high school in Columbine, Colorado. Oh yeah, we all heard about this, Columbine massacres. Entire episode lasted an estimated 90 minutes. That's probably one of the most famous, school shootings. September 1963, at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, it was bombed by 4 Ku Klux Klan members, and it killed 4 children and injured, I think it's 22. Yes, 22. Unfortunately, 4 sickos. Innocent there. Highly that one, obviously. These are all, I believe, these are generally these mass murders. They're very well, they're hard, compared to some of the, compared to like a disorganized serial killer, for example, who's acting on impulse. These mass murderers are doing it for a reason. And obviously the reason is insane. We go. More examples. No, this is a spree killer. We're moving on to spree murderers now. So a spree murderer is like a serial killer. Okay, so kills more than one person or two. Sorry, kills more than one person at 2 occasions. Okay, but it happens quickly with no cooling off period. So that's the difference between a spree murderer and a serial killer. With a serial killer, cooling off period in between murders. It might be a month, it might be years, it might be weeks, it might be months, it might be years until the serial killer kills again. But with a spree killer, kills someone at location X, and then after they'll drive to location Y and kill another few people. Killer is constantly moving, hiding, running, and the result is often the same as that of the mass murderer, in that it ends with a suicide, but is less like it's in the mass murderer's case, it will be suicide by cop, so they're waiting to be shot by the cop. But with spree murderers, they might actually kill themselves. Okay, so they might jump off a bridge or shoot themselves in the head or whatever before they're caught. So we have an example here of Andrew Cunahan, who killed 5 men in 4 states. Within 3 months, he killed himself. And we have another example here of these two characters, 1957 to 1958. That's Charles Starkweather and Carol Fugate. That's a man and woman. And they killed 11 people in 6 weeks. I don't know if that's Bonnie and Clyde. I'm not sure. Anyway, Starkweather got... No, that was earlier, wasn't it? That was much earlier. Anyway, Starkweather got the chair, electric chair, and Fugate, that's the lady, was paroled in 1977, so she got let out. So we've already gone over the serial killer, but we'll go again with these slides. The serial killer kills 3 or more people over a period of more than a month. The cooling off time in between may be as long as 3 months. Uses the time to unwind, come down off the killing high. So they're getting, obviously, gratification from it. They're getting a buzz out of it. And it lasts that buzz lasts for a certain period of time. And then the buzz, they don't feel it anymore, and they get this compulsion to do it again. Their motivation for killing is usually based on psychological gratification. Rarely display a clear, they rarely display a clearly defined or rational motive. Okay, so the mass murderer or the killing spree individuals can have a clearly defined motive. They sometimes have manifestos and shit like that. You know, they have a reason for doing what they're doing. Obviously, it's batshit crazy, but they have a reason. Whereas the serial killer, well, they may not be able to display a clear motive or rational motive. Warning, this is very, very disturbing. If you need to take a break, please move away from this stream. Criminal profiling, as we've already mentioned, possible solution to battling serial offenders, a behavioral investigative tool that is intended to help investigators to accurately predict and profile the characteristics of unknown criminal subjects for offenders. Criminal profiling, okay, some assumptions of the profiling process. The crime scene reflects the personality, okay, so the manner of death, whether it's organized or disorganized, as the crime scene, the manner of death, like how sadistic is this motherfucker? How much suffering did they inflict, you know? What type of an individual was it? You know, was it a man or a woman? Were they raped? You know, all these types of things show what type of an individual the police are dealing with. Methods of operation remain similar. So this is in a serial killer. Clues left could be a signature of the killer. So there is a pattern. So that's how they know it's the same individual doing it as well, because they do the same kind of, they're killing the same kind of person in the same kind of way. The signature will remain the same. It's unique in manner in which it's a unique manner in which a crime is committed. The manner, the words used, something left at the scene, that's indicative of the signature, and that shows it's the same individual carrying out the crimes. The criminal's personality will not change. The core personality cannot change. Indeed, it is the core personality that is driving the killings. FBI crime scene analysis distinguishes 2 types of crime scenes as the basis of psychological profiling. So this goes into the organized and disorganized offenders again. in serial killers. So organized offenders, these are highly intelligent, socially adequate, sexually competent. They generally live with a partner. They high birth order status. Okay. Father had or has stable work. There was childhood discipline that was inconsistent. Okay, so there was maybe they felt both love and hostility, chaotically as a child from their parents. Situational stress causes crime. So obviously these individuals crack up at different points, and that causes them to act out. And then, unfortunately, their acting out involves killing. They may be charming. They're likely to be charming and mobile, so they can move around easily. So they're very agile. They can drive, obviously. They can cycle. They can get around quickly. Follows crime in the media, so they're media literate. They're able to read. They're able to watch what's happening, and they're trying to stay steps ahead of law enforcement. Then you have disorganized offenders. These individuals are below average intelligence, still have the same compulsions as the organized offender to kill and to kill. They're socially illiterate, so they may seem socially awkward, not very communicating, maybe not popular. Sexually incompetent, so not likely to have a partner, likely to be single. Unskilled labor, so factory kind of work or construction laborer, that kind of work. Low birth order. Father had or has unstable work, so the father was in and out of work, maybe seasonal work, maybe just couldn't keep down a job. That's the kind of upbringing they had, or their father was like that. Received harsh discipline as a child, so they were very their parents perhaps were very angry, maybe very violent towards them, maybe disciplined them too much, or were quite unfair in how they dished out the discipline. Now their mood is generally anxious during the crimes as they commit them, so they're afraid. Okay. That's interesting. The disorganized offender is afraid, and the organized offender seems to be getting kind of gratification from it, and is confident because they seem to be thinking they're above it all. They're narcissistic. They're trying to be 2 steps ahead. They think they're greater than everyone. But the disorganized offender is fearful, anxious during the crime. Maybe they're afraid of getting caught. And stress is not a factor in causing the crimes of a disorganized offender. So stress causes the organized offender to kill. So when they have a bit of stress in life, they will become discombobulated. They will their psychological crutch is to become a killer. Okay, that's what happens when they break down. But the disorganized offender, stress is not a factor in causing the killing in their case. So I suppose you could say they're constantly stressed, though, wouldn't you be constantly stressed if you were always working in shitty jobs, etc.? I don't know. They generally live alone and do not date. They have poor personal hygiene, so they're going to have shabby clothing, not well groomed, stains on their clothing, etc. Not interested in media, so they don't watch the news. They don't keep abreast of what is going on in current affairs. Nocturnal, so they keep odd hours, and significant behavior changes after the crime. Okay, so you can see here that the organized offender will keep up appearances, but and act as they were. They're good at providing cover, and they were good at pretending and acting normal. People don't perceive them as being dangerous or weird. Nobody thought Ted Bundy was a serial killer. Nobody thought Wayne Gacy was a serial killer. They thought they were liked in town where they lived. They dated and all that. But disorganized offenders, they can't keep up the act, so they will have significant behavior changes. This is probably related to the anxious state. They will do stupid things. They will maybe not go to work the next day. Maybe they'll, I don't know, move town or something. They'll do something strange, different. There'll be a significant behavior change. A comparison of crime scenes in an organized serial killer's crime scene. You can tell it's planned. Okay, victim is targeted. They personalize the victim. Okay, so this victim means something to the killer. It's not just some randomer. The conversations are controlled. Okay, so there's a reason behind perhaps everything they're saying to the victims, or some of these people who got away. There's obviously, like in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, there was that Edwards guy who luckily got away from him. The way Dahmer spoke to him prior to his escape, obviously Dahmer was thinking this guy is going to kill him. This is going to be another victim. But the conversations would have been controlled. He was leading that individual down the garden path towards the murder, and there was a kind of way that he did it. It was almost ritualistic. He had a certain way of talking, certain ways of making the person feel at ease, and eventually leading them to their downfall with the stages of the conversation as he revealed what was going to happen. Controlled crime scenes. So yeah, obviously prior to the murder, the organized serial killer would think about where they're going to do it, why they're going to do it there, and such. A submissive victim. So the organized serial killer obviously picks their victim carefully. They don't want to pick someone who is going to overpower them, for example, or get away, because they want to kill. So they're going to pick someone who is weaker than them in some way and is unable to get away. Restraints used. So they're going to have tools of the trade. They're going to have ropes. They're going to have handcuffs, these types of things. Generally aggressive acts. So these individuals are compelled to be violent. So they will, like Ted Bundy, he hit them over the head with a hammer. Stuff like that, unfortunately, for the victims. Body is moved around. So body is moved, so they don't leave the body where it's where they killed them. They move them probably to a safe place where they can hide it, so that they can keep retain appearances of normalcy, and not get caught. Basically, they don't want to keep the body in the house because it will start smelling, obviously, when it decomposes. So they're thinking ahead. They're trying to evade capture. Weapon taken. I'm not sure what that means, but I presume they don't leave the weapon lying around. They hide that as well. So they leave little evidence. The disorganized individual, spontaneous event. So it doesn't seem to be planned. Random, victim unknown. Depersonalizes the victim. So kind of like acts like they don't know them or something like that, I suppose. Minimal conversation. Obviously, they're socially awkward. They're not going to be the greatest conversationalists. Chaotic crime scene, so it's all over the place. And don't forget, these individuals are generally low intelligence. Sudden violence, so not pre-planned, not much composure. Just these are anxious individuals, so they will just randomly come out and commit the violence rather than it being well premeditated. No restraints are used, because again, this is down to lack of planning. Sex after death. So these individuals practice necrophilia. This might go down to the fact that they're not very sexually successful, and maybe they would find it difficult to have sex with someone if they weren't dead. Jesus. Body not moved, so they haven't got the intellectual capacity to realize that, leaving the body around. They're not thinking of consequences. They're kind of not thinking straight. They're dumb, obviously. They're all over the place. They're psychotic. They leave the weapon behind. They leave physical evidence, and this is why they're more likely to get caught. serial murder types. So these are different types of serial killers. Okay, so you've got the visionary. Now the visionaries see things. Okay, these are the psychopathic beings, and they're directed by another being. Okay, so I'm guessing they're kind of schizophrenic, right? And then you've got missionary. These needs to eradicate a certain group, and they're not psychotic. So these individuals might be like what we heard there earlier about in Birmingham, Alabama, where those sick bastard Ku Klux Klan members, the 4 members who went and killed or bombed the church and killed the 4 innocent children, these sickos would be missionary serial killers. They have this ideological need to eradicate a certain group of individuals, not psychotic, highly planned, highly methodical, sick motherfuckers. Then you get the hedonistic individuals who are serial killers. These seek thrills and derives pleasure from killing. Okay, I would say probably Ted Bundy probably fell into that category, considering he sought to have sex with the individuals after they died. Power control, I think, obviously that's a big thing in serial killing. They do pick weaker. The organized killers, as we've seen, pick weaker, submissive individual people they view as submissive to be dominant over. So they're more likely to be able to commit the murder, unfortunately, and they get sexual gratification from the dominance from dominating the victim. And they also get sexual gratification from the power of life and death. So these sick motherfuckers get some kind of sexual gratification from playing God, literally, like that guy we read earlier, the fucking dating game killer. He literally used to revive the women after he strangled them, and then do it, and then strangle them again. He got sexual gratification from the power of life and death, and that would have driven him, unfortunately. What is a serial killer? What characteristics come to mind? Misconception number 1. Serial killers are the same as mass murderers. Okay, so that is the misconception. Serial killers kill several people over a series of days, weeks, months, or even years. So there's an active period and a cooling off period. So they're doing it and then they're not doing it. As I said earlier, during the cooling off period, they're reminiscing. They may even be going back to the body that they've killed, going back to the scene. Maybe they've got parts of the body in their home. They're using part of the skull as an ashtray or something. Who the fuck knows what these crazy bastards are doing? But there's a period when they're not killing, and then there's a period when they're getting a buzz of what they've done, and that lasts a significant time, perhaps, until they do it again. And then in mass murderers, they kill a number of people within a few hours, or a short period of time, sometimes days or weeks. But they murder in an outburst with no cooling off period. So they go from one place to another, kill, kill, kill. For example, Columbine shootings. That was the those famous school shootings in America. Misconception number 2: serial killers are complete losers who cannot function normally in society. It's more common for serial killers to live normal lives. Apparently, this is part of the reason why they are successful in their killings. This is why they get away with it. For example, for a significant period of time sometimes. For example, Ted Bundy, considered very charming. Common characteristics of serial killers, commonly a white male. I heard 93%, or no, I heard it 60%. I'm not sure the exact statistics. Generally aged between 25 and 35. These are the most commonly statistically most likely. Okay. Intelligence ranges from low to very high. Okay, so low, disorganized, very high, organized. From all walks of life, maybe the married man next door with his kids, or socially inept, unable to maintain a relationship, or a loner. Okay. Now they may kill for sex, power, manipulation, domination, and control. So there's a power. They want something over the victim. They want the victim to be a victim of theirs. Okay, common characteristics of victims. I think this is called victimology. So the serial killers usually kill within an ethnic group, either their own or another. They don't usually go outside of that ethnic group. Age of the victims may vary greatly depending on the murderer. Okay. Usually no prior contact or hatred for the victim. Now that's interesting. This is one of the things that does set serial killers apart from other murderers. Like classically in homicide, the perpetrator knows the victim. But in serial killing, usually there's no prior contact or hatred for the victim. It's just someone that they happen to come across who fits the profile for the said set of people that they're infatuated with or obsessed with. So yeah, the victim may be symbolic in some way for the killer. Socially difficult to accept. So psychopaths or sociopaths, self-centered, egocentric, and narcissistic individuals. Manipulative, emotionally shallow, devoid of empathy or remorse. Okay. Yes. And fantasy. Okay, so all humans fantasize about their dreams and their futures, and usually these fantasies are quite detailed. Serial killers also have detailed fantasies, but these fantasies relate to specific victims. Okay, the fantasies are repetitive. So other humans, our dreams, our aspirations, our fantasies change. Okay, over time, but serial killers seem to have an obsessive, repetitive fantasy that involves the same specific type of individuals, victims. The fantasy reveals the modus operandi, the method of operation, the signature. Okay. The fantasy helps forensic psychiatrists develop profiles of the killers. Okay. Trophies of souvenirs. Okay, so this is something that serial killers often do. Criminals often take money, jewels, electronics, incriminating evidence, okay, weapons. So criminals who do a big robbery, for example, might keep a bit of the jewelry, but they're not the serial killers. Serial killers take different types of souvenirs depending on their own pathological psychology. They take objects sometimes with no monetary value, like a lock of hair, a bra, something like that. But it holds value to the perpetrator, to the murderer. They use it to relive the crime later. For example, jewelry, clothing, driver's license, even body parts. Childhood. Many killers come from physical or psychological, sexually abusive childhoods. They insulate themselves by creating a protective world rich in fantasy, so they're fantasists. Their fantasy includes sexual and violent characteristics. These themes commingle until they are inseparable. So the sexual and the violence become entangled and they become part of the one fantasy. Offenders seek victims that fulfill their fantasy. They have this crazy, insane, obsessive need to fulfill these fantasies, compulsion. For example, Ted Bundy, he wanted women with dark hair parted in the middle. That was his pathological desire. Okay, and we have come to the end of those slides. 1 second now. I don't know why I'm not showing up. Am I on the screen? There we go. Can you hear me? Okay, so guys, you can come on now. If you're there, welcome to any of you who are new. This is a rather unsavory show in many ways, but welcome anyway. We are talking about serial killers. Now, I've learned a little bit this evening about the difference between mass murderers, serial killers, spree killers, and what drives them. Scary stuff. But yeah, if you want to come on here now and talk about stuff you've heard about in the news or in popular culture, please do. And we can keep the conversation going. But that's what it's all about. I'm going to go on Google now and just type in serial killers or whatever and see what I can find for us to keep the show going. But yeah, it's a very worrying world. These people exist. I like to think it's not as bad as it was. I like to think that with mental health developments, there's not as many serial killers walking around. Let's hope so. Hopefully, surveillance and predictive, psychological tools used by criminologists and police can hopefully prevent these types of crimes happening. But apparently they are still happening around the world, and they say at any one time there could be 300 serial killers on the loose in America, for example. I heard that. I don't know if it's true. Maybe you guys have the statistics there somewhere. Well, I'll type in serial killer statistics by country. Let me see if I can find anything. Okay, countries with the most serial killers. What is this? Where are they getting this information from? It's saying okay. Michelle, do you want to come on here? You seem to know a lot about all this kind of stuff. Do you want to come on and tell us your opinions or what you know? Well, I know what I'll do. I have some other slides. I'll read them, but I can't show them because they are not PDFs and I can't upload them to StreamYard, unfortunately. But there was a good slide I want to read. Surviving an attack. So this is about spree killers or mass murderers. If you're ever unfortunate enough to be around when some nutcase is kicking off and killing people, here's how to survive an attack. So the things you have to remember are the first thing to do is to run. Okay, so firstly, run. Get the hell out of it. Okay, let me just see if I can share this. I'm going to present. Let me see if I can do this. Share screen. Window. Let me just 1 minute, guys. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So you can see that, can you, hopefully? Surviving an attack. Okay. So yeah, run. If there is an escape, first thing to do is to run. If there is an escape route, an escape path, attempt to leave. Get the fuck out of there, okay? Safely. Leave whether others agreed to do so or not. So don't be afraid to fucking make a run for it, even if others aren't doing so, okay? As long as you have a clear path, as long as you have parts of the building, etc., or other buildings, protecting you from the line of fire from, the nutcase that is starting the murder spree or whatever. Leave your belongings behind. Yeah, leave your fucking phone, your computer, your laptop, your fucking handbag. Get the fuck out of there. Try to help others escape if you can. And also, once you get the hell out of there, don't let other people move towards the area. Prevent others from entering the area. Okay. And when you're safe, when you're outside of the danger zone, okay, when you're away, call 911 or 999. Okay, immediately get the authorities, get the police on it. Okay, as quick as fucking possible. Okay, so if you can't run, remember that's the first thing you should try and do is to run. if it's safe to do so. You can't run, fucking hide. Hide your ass, okay? Now, lock or blockade a door, okay? So if you're in a fucking school or a building, put as much shit up against that fucking door as possible, okay? Lock the fucking door if possible. If there's a key in it or if there's a turn thing on the fucking door handle, lock it. Put fucking shitloads of desks above it. Make it as hard as possible for that fucking door to open, okay? Turn off the lights. Make sure your phone's on silent, okay? Hide behind large objects, okay? So make sure you're fucking hiding. Make sure none of you's peeping out. Don't trap yourself or restrict options for movement, okay? So don't make sure you're not in a position where if the killer does come into the room, you're unable to get to move out of a line of fire, for example. Remain quiet. Try not to make fucking noise. It doesn't say this here, but I would say that if you do have your phone, text someone. I think you can text like 999. I think you can do that. Or text someone anyway. Text as many people as possible. WhatsApp as many people as possible. Tell them what the fuck's happening. And tell someone to get the fucking police over there. Okay? Anyway, that's the second thing you can do if you can't run. Finally, if you can't run and you can't hide, well, then you're going to have to fucking fight. And now this is the last resort, okay? So improvise weapons. It's very important, guys, that you learn self-defense, some basic fucking self-defense. No parts of the body to hit, Go for the fucking throat, go for the fucking eyes, Improvise weapons. Grab something fucking sharp, something fucking heavy. Hit them over the fucking head, stab them in the fucking eyes, slit their fucking throat with something, stab them in the fucking throat with something. Commit to taking the shooter down no matter fucking what. So if you're in the room and there's no fucking way out and you happen to be behind the shooter, for example, the door's locked, you can't get out, well, grab them in a fucking rugby tackle behind, grab them so that from behind by their arms, you wrap your arms around them, get them to the ground, headbutt them, kick them in the fucking nuts, do whatever you have to do, stamp on their fucking head, act with physical fucking aggression. There's never been a time in your life where it's more fucking necessary to be physically aggressive and violent, okay? Attempt to incapacitate the shooter, okay? Do whatever it fucking takes to incapacitate that motherfucker. Okay, there you go. Are we okay with that? Hola. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Let me see if I can find any other slides here. I hope none of this, by the way. Nobody is unfortunate enough to ever this shit. We've got Yerf Dogs in the house. Hello, welcome, Yerf Dogs. How do you do?
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Well, I'm okay, but this is unsavory shit. But there you go.
I find it quite interesting, actually. I think it's really cool.
It is interesting. I don't know about quite cool, but yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting. But like, it seems to be kind of passé. Would you think? I don't think we have as many serial killers these days. Probably because of mental health and probably because of police methodology, like criminology and such. But we do seem to have a lot of spree killers and mass murderers. Like, I suppose you could put terrorists into that as well. We have a lot of crazies kicking off and killing a lot of people very quickly, I would say nowadays, rather than serial killing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, I don't have numbers on that either. I wouldn't be able to say.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm just going to go into 1 second here, guys. I'm trying to look at some slides I had, but I couldn't upload.
Sorry, I can back off, mate. If you want to keep going through your slides.
No, it's cool. You can stay. You can stay. You can stay. What's this here? Okay, so it's contributing factors to summoning a serial killer. There's 3 different types of factors. There's posing, there's facilitating factors, facilitating factors. Okay.
You seem to be cutting in and out, by the way, mate. You seem to be dropping signal while you're talking.
Shit. That's no good. Thank you for letting me know. Well, I hope you can hear me now. Did you hear what I said? There's different types.
No, I missed that because you were dropping out. But I think that sounds better now.
Oh, so basically, contributory factors to whether someone becomes a serial killer. Now, I'll share this slide. Why not? Share screen. Okay, so contributing factors as to why someone might become a serial killer. So you've got the predisposing factors, the precipitating factors, and the facilitating factors. Now, we'll try and go into these now and see what they're about. Okay.
Your audio is dropping again, buddy.
My goodness me. Yeah, it's confusing when he asks us to go on and then continues to read while we sit there. Well, I'm hoping that you'll join in, like interject as and when you can, you know, if that's okay. I'm sure Steve is able to do it, you know.
I would just
Add
like
your
to
input.
comment on something you said earlier, if you don't mind.
Oh, go on, brother. Go on.
Break my flow. Go ahead, son.
I tell you what, you do that. I'm just gonna grab a drink. I am listening, guys. So go ahead. I might be like 30. I tell you what, I might be about 30 seconds. So please, take the stage.
No worries.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Just something that D&W said a little bit earlier about the insanity plea, where he said, and I'm pretty sure he knows this, but if you plead insanity and your plea is successful, that doesn't mean you get off. What it means is you end up going to a mental prison, basically, or a mental institution, and you serve your sentence there. A plea of insanity doesn't just get you off and you walk free. That's not how it works. And I remember when I was at varsity, I did a placement with what we call in New Zealand, we call them patient advocates, because I was interested in medical law. And one of the things that the person who was basically mentoring me in the program, she told me, which I've never forgotten, if you can with your client, always try to get them to not do the insanity plea, because once they're in the mental facility, the state can force you to take drugs, mental psychotic drugs, that kind of thing. And so you're in both prisons, your body's not free, but at least in what you call the regular prison, at least your mind is your own. And I just that always stuck with me, and I think that's
but I that is a good perspective. But the thing is, some of these people who get classified as insane, I mean, they do get out. If they are rehabilitated in these hospitals, they can get out easier than getting out of prison. You know what I mean? That is the case.
Is that true? I don't know if that's
true. Yeah. In this country, it is anyway. Like sometimes they get out. I'm not going to name cases, but you can look this up. People do get out. Like, say, if they had been convicted, if they'd been convicted of murder, right? They would have served, say, a much longer time inside. But sometimes when they've been found guilty but insane, all right, they get put in a mental institution, right, and then they are deemed to be necessarily seen as patients who need to be rehabilitated. And then when they are rehabilitated, well, because they were insane when they committed the murder, for example, well, it's like there's no point keeping them in because it's not the same person. It's the same person now. So they're kind of let out, sometimes, depending on the cases,
I'd have to read the actual case documents to actually, and also statistically whether that's true or not. I don't know it. I mean, each case is going to be judged on its, at least in theory. Each case will be judged on its
I know. I'm not going to name the names, but I know definitely of one.
Okay.
Case where that has happened.
Well, I'm sure it happens. I don't deny it happens, but to the extent it happens, I can't say for sure. I don't know.
We've got J.E. is here. Yeah. J.E., you're muted, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Jay, how you doing, brother?
Just another day trying to survive in this crazy, hellish world we live in.
Same shit, different day.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you guys think about the serial killer thing? You guys think that we have any among us right now?
Oh, don't say that. I was actually worried about that. No, don't fucking shake that hornet's nest. I was worried. By the way, if any of you become serial killers after watching this fucking stream, you know, you have nothing to blame but yourself, because I've already told you the fucking developmental fucking criteria, the McDonald triad. I mean, if you have abused animals as a child, if you've been a fucking pyromaniac, and what was the other one, guys? Can you remember the fucking other criteria that they said?
Being an atheist.
What was it?
Being an atheist.
Fuck off. Oh my god. It's not a laughing fucking matter, guys. It's not a laughing fucking matter. But yeah, I would say if you have inclinations to fucking kill, get yourself into fucking therapy. You know, get yourself into therapy, please. Right. So predisposing factors. So these are the there's three types of factors, three different distinct types of factors that made someone more likely to become a serial killer. Okay, so first of all, the predisposing factors include such things as a long history of frustration, okay, humiliation, and repeated failures. Okay, sometimes that's the case. Okay, negative self-image, so element of self-loathing, depression. Now this is interesting because I remember we did some kind of criminology lecture a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? And they did say that serial killers do have a lack of serotonin, a serotonin depletion in their neurology. So that would make sense that they have a negative self-image and a depressive nature. A lack of coping ability. So these people haven't self-learned a way of dealing with life or with the negative feelings they have. And there's something here that is interesting. It's the externalization of blame. Now, this is actually generally a narcissistic thing. So narcissists generally blame everybody else. Okay, they won't blame themselves for for what's happening in life. They will blame others. So there seems to be this is a criteria that shows it's a predisposition in somebody who is likely to become a serial killer. There's a externalization of blame. So I will try and find another slide now to share. I'll just get rid of that one, where we can go on and look at more factors in the making of a possible serial killer. And the next one is the precipitating factors. Okay, guys. So I'm just going to share the screen. Sorry about this. Is a bit laborious. Apologize. Okay, so the precipitating factors include short-term acute triggers. Okay, so sudden loss or threat of loss. Okay, a job, a relationship, a financial situation, or bullying. Some kind of final straw. Okay, so I think that's the stress factor, and I think this is probably more the case in the organized serial killers. Okay, the intelligent ones, the ones who have a planning, you know, behind what they do. Stress seems to drive them to it. So some kind of serious downfall, acute stress in their life, that's sudden, that will cause them to derail and become spiral into this way of thinking, you know, that they've got to kill people. So yeah, I'll remove that one now, and I will look for the next type of the next factors are headlined as facilitating factors. Okay, so let me just get these. Okay, you can see that, guys. So facilitating factors include social isolation, okay, being a loner, brain pathology, okay, psychiatric illness, grandiose and obsessional traits, and a sense of entitlement. So when these traits all comorbid, when these all happen together, then you're looking at an individual who's dangerous when they're kind of obsessively thinking about killing, okay, and when they've got these other traits such as wanting to hurt people, being sadistic, and have weird deviances in terms of sexual gratification, like strange fucking fantasies about having sex with fucking dead bodies and shit like that, If they have those types of fucking strange deviances and all these other factors that we've just gone through, this is an individual who is dangerous, Some unsavory shit there. We will go on. I've got a slide here. Let me just see if I can get. Okay, I think these are the kind of the stages of cumulative strain. So this is how someone is driven to kill. Let me just try and share this one. You can see that, guys? Yes, it's on the screen. Good. Okay. Make this bigger for me. So you've got, these are the kind of, this is like the kind of the steps that drive someone to kill when they're kind of predisposed or they have the characteristics of someone who is potentially a serial killer. Okay, so stage one, there's some kind of chronic strain. Okay, so there's perhaps bullying, family problems, workplace failures, financial difficulties, or chronic rejection. So this person is having a hard life. They're getting the butt end of it. They're getting a brutal experience. Stage two, there's an uncontrolled strain. So there's a lack of social support around them. Okay, their peer groups sometimes are deviant. Okay, so it's a bit like if you hang around with the wrong types of characters, it can impression your psychology, and people around them aren't calling them out or trying to help them. Perhaps maybe people around them are bullying them, belittling them, making them feel worse, and not lifting them up or not trying to help. And there's a lack of conventional bonds. So these individuals haven't got someone who has their back, basically. There's nobody there for them. In the kind of conventional sense. Stage three, the making of a killer, some kind of recent catastrophic loss. Okay, so when they have these previous experiences, so that they were bullied or they have family problems, workplace failures, etc. When they have a lack of social support. Stage three is the danger zone, when they get a serious catastrophic loss or public humiliation or a serious rejection from somebody they admire or love, some kind of unrequited love. It's like the last straw. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, it's the bit where they become enraged. Okay, so maybe there's someone like you saw the film the Joker. The guys on the train. When they were bullying him on the train, they were mugging him. That was like the last straw. That's when, shit hit the fan for the character in the Joker, and he started killing. Stage four, the planning stage. Okay, this is when the organized serial killer starts thinking about what to do, and they start planning. So they're involved in sometimes lengthy planning, days or years. Rational immorality. So these individuals are does that say gendered performance? These individuals are kind of rationalizing their desires. Okay, they're building a manifesto, or maybe they're building a manifesto in their minds. They're rationalizing their projections they're trying to make sense of it and give a reason why they're not a bad guy for enacting the harm that they're about to do or that they want to do. Stage 5 is
gendered performance. What is that?
I don't quite know. I mean, we could look that up. We could look that up if you want to, my friend. Do you want to look it up? Or?
Yeah, I'll look it up. It's just when I see
if you type in Fox and Madfist, killers, collimative strain, and if you could look up rational immorality, I think I got that right. I think it's just about how they start rationalizing what everyone else would deem immoral behavior. They start rationalizing it and putting it forth as the right thing to do.
I'll have a look.
Stage 5 is the actual crime, the massacre, the mass killing. So they get the firearms access. Okay, so if you're in America, that's quite easy to do, unfortunately. They have firearms proficiency, so these guys usually train to do it. They have access to crowds. Okay, and there's a lack of guardianship, so they pick somewhere with ease of access, so they can get in there and do what it is they unfortunately want to do. So while Steve is looking that up, JE, have you got anything to say at this juncture?
No. Yeah. I also was a bit interested in knowing what a gendered performance is. So that's really the only thing. But yeah, it shows you that. I mean, based on this, it shows you that basically anyone can become a serial killer. It seems,
Well, I wouldn't say that now. I'd say that it depends on an unfortunate set of circumstances. Not everybody has those circumstances, but it is also, I would say, we have to be very mindful as a society that these individuals are made. They are made by their experiences and by their circumstances. And sometimes society does have a part to play in it. If we are not speaking up about bullying, if we are not looking out for our neighbors, if we're letting people be loners from a young age, if we're not looking out for child abuse, okay, if we're not looking out for our friends when we're out and about, making sure no one is spiking their drinks, this type of shit, we have to be very careful and mindful of others. Got brother Marcus, who was in the house here. Here we go. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day. That's the Joker from Batman, the Killing Joke. Yeah. Hello, brother Marcus. You're on the show.
Hello.
Okay, so good day, Marcus. How are you, bro?
Good day.
Good day.
How are you?
Did you
nice
find
Canadian
something?
good day. Yeah, I'm having a bit of trouble finding specifically what they mean, but I'm wondering if what they're saying is, because obviously they're talking about men here. Men are more prone to this kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if it means that the more violent parts of masculinity are somehow amplified at that stage. Maybe I'm just guessing that could be what it means.
Yeah, it could be that. 1 second, I'm just going to take that comment off the it's off the screen now. Yes, I'm going to look it up myself here.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, there is some. I mean, put gendered performance and it seemed, like I've got one here about mass shootings, which is obviously a male-dominated. I can't think of a word, like I'm thinking past
phenomenon.
Phenomenon. Thank you. That's much better. Yeah, it's a male-dominated phenomenon. So I'm guessing. It's just a guess. I guess that's what it means. It's amplifying those violent traits that men do when they're pushed to their limits. That men have when they're pushed to their limits. What was the other one you wanted me to look up?
Oh no, I think we kind of guessed. I think we're confident that you can look it up, but it was rationalizing or rationality of immorality or something. Wasn't it rationalizing immorality?
Oh,
I think that's like them trying to make sense, them trying to like excuses for their poor behavior. Basically.
Yeah. If I if I do this, it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
So I can't find anything on gendered performance. I think that's whoever made these slides. I think that's just some peculiar fucking way they've framed it. But
If it would have been much better if they'd said something like, like masculine violent traits amplified or something, that would make more sense.
yeah, I think it probably is something like that, though, isn't it? That makes the most sense, you know. I mean, gendered performance is going to be a man wanting sex of a woman, for example, or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Well,
gender difference in serial murders. Here we go. I found it.
Okay, good man.
I'll share this now in a second. 1 second now. Just let me see if this is there. Okay. This is a fucking. It's a fucking PDF. It's a long PDF, but let me see if I can find the abstract. Let me go back here. So basically, it says in the abstract here, male serial murderers have shown a tendency to use a hands-on approach in killing by using knives, blunt objects, and hands to kill their victims. Okay, so it's the nature of the murder. Okay, so the man is going to be kind of hands-on, violent, and the woman might be more subtle. Who knows? She might stab him in the back or give him poison or something. You know what I mean? She might kill them with arsenic or something. You know what I mean? I'm guessing that's it. What do you think?
I agree. I think when men are violent, we do it in the what am I going to say? At that point in time, we will be violent. As for planning,
that's not a Freudian slip there, my friend, is it? I'm joking.
We would be violent.
The serial killer, the Kiwi serial killer of Japan. Yeah, I'm only joking.
I'm revealing myself. I've got plans. No, I've read up on this.
Laugh. We shouldn't laugh because there have been some terrible crimes in Japan. What about the killing spree that comes to mind in Japan? Was it a cult or something that gassed everybody in the fucking subway? What was
that? What do they call themselves? Shim Rikyo, and I know I've butchered that. But that was a turning point. But even I that's more of a cult thing. I was thinking more about the Akihabara stabbing spree, where a guy just went to Akihabara and just went nuts, just waving his knife around at people and killing a number of people. So I think with guys, I think we tend to we bottle things up and all that. I mean, all these cliches and all that kind of stuff. And so there's just a small fraction of men, when they explode, they just fucking explode. And you can't stop them.
I agree with you, and I think that's just by nature as well. Women can't always enact on their desires. Sometimes they have to be more careful because they haven't got the physical strength. You know.
There is But again, like you say, there's plenty of cases of like the poisoning and all that kind of stuff. That seems to be a.
I mean, there's been some seriously sick fucking women in the world. I mean, I remember I read a case about this Italian serial killer, and I don't know if it's the 20th century, early 20th or late 19th, but she used to fucking kill people and fucking boil them up and make soap out of them.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. There's some fucking Jesus Christ, man. Brother Marcus, have you got anything to say, my friend?
Welcome to the world where they live among us, and
they live among
symptoms that you were. Was it symptoms or triggers or whatever you were talking about? It's totally. I've seen a lot of that online, so I could see that happening for sure.
Well, you see, the thing is, just because it's not everybody who has. It's like there's a broad spectrum of things that everyone has. Like there's a whole set of things. You know what I mean? So if you just have one thing, it doesn't mean you're going to be a serial killer.
No. I mean, like the whole set of like financial problems, social isolation, constant stress, like all of that is just like a lot of people, especially in pessimism communities, like that's where spaces have that. So that
I would say that some of these pessimists have some of them have an empathy gene, though. It would seem that's why they're pessimistic. That they care. Sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And then some of them are misanthropic. They have fantasies.
Yeah, I would say it'd be very peculiar. From what I see with these serial killers so far online, is a lot of the ones seem to be loners, and they don't seem to mix. And I would say that would include online as well. I mean, if they're that way inclined, I would say they're unlikely to give out their plan before they do something. Like if they're organized, they're not going to put out their plan because they're organized. They want to hide what they do.
You'd call Ted Bundy an exception then, I guess, because he was very gregarious.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying, he was gregarious, he was grandiose. No, what I'm saying, Dog, is if someone is a serial killer, I would say they're not likely to tell people or to overtly show that they're a serial killer if they're intelligent. You know what I mean? Online.
I don't think they would. Well, but then again, you never know. I mean,
if they're organized, but if they're unorganized, right? It said that person's unintelligent, so maybe they're the ones that will give off the cues. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe they. I don't know.
Part of the serial killer personality style, some of them like to boast about what they do.
Yes, but after the fact, I think.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's how a few of them have been caught even before the internet. Some of them would write. I think it was the Zodiac killer never got caught, but he was, whoever that was, wrote to the papers and made them print letters and stuff. Like I think some of these guys like to boast about their work.
Well, as you said, like some of them don't even get caught. So I don't know. When I leave in the apartment and I'm like, okay, I can't tell who I'm walking by, and
It is a scary thing about when you kind of grow up and you realize that you could be walking past someone who's done terrible things, and it's like fuck, I remember volunteering somewhere once, and there was a few murderers there, who'd done murder, you know what I mean? And I never knew why they did it or whatever, and they were like problematic. They were drinking drugs, you know what I mean? I'll be honest with you, I was judgmental though. I was, I didn't like them, even though I didn't know the stories, I suppose. But from what I gather, they killed other men, But I'm like certain crimes, like certain murders, you can understand. I know that's terrible. I'll probably get shot for saying that, but I can understand some crimes of passion. Like they are unlawful. Like I can understand, for example, a woman killing her rapist or her abuser, sexual abuser, or a man killing a man who abused him, like as a child or whatever. I can understand those types of crimes, and I think the courts do as well. Sometimes I think they take that into consideration. Sometimes, a mitigation.
There's that defense. What is it?
Yeah,
that woman can use battered woman syndrome or something.
Battered wife syndrome. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I think there should be I think there should be like one for men as well, because a lot of men get domestically abused as well.
But that can be a self-defense thing. But but in domestic abuse situations, it's always going to be the man that's considered the prime suspect. Like that's going to be the person that's removed from the home.
Statistically, do you think that's justified?
No idea. I think when it comes to domestic violence, we have to be careful. Like I mean, I've said this before, and this is actually Bill Burr does a great bit on this. That just because a guy punches his girl, if you just look at that point in time, the guy needs to be buried under the jail without any doubt. But what led up to that? There's like there are some guys who as we've talked, as D&W you've talked about in these slides, you feel the awkwardness in the chat already. You can, but in the slides that you've shown, you push a guy to his limits far enough, when he sees no other way out, he's gonna lash out with violence. That's just gonna.
Oh, sorry, I meant like when the police take the man first, like without even knowing the story.
Oh, without even knowing. Yeah, I think that's justified, but yeah. Yes, I do. I'll say yes. Yes.
Because like I don't even know the stats, but I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that if you don't know the situation, you're just going in to assess. You're going to remove the physical threats, and it's usually like
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's followed up with a decent enough investigation. But yeah, I think if you're gonna, I think removing the guy is probably the best idea.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I've got another slide here. If I can share it 1 second.
I'm apparently streaming on my channel too now. Did you
Are
know
you?
you had that feature on? Yeah.
What?
Like when I logged into here, it said you could restream on your channel, and I clicked it, and I didn't even know that was a thing.
Really? So what? My show is now on your channel as well?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
And that's
So it is.
I could turn it off though if
No, you can do it. It's okay.
Feels like I'm leeching off of you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I won't let that happen in future, but I don't mind it this week. I mean, it's just because it's not you; it's other people. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I want to delete the fucking stream afterwards. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So here we go. Here's a slide about mass murderer characteristics. Okay, so this is in America. 93.8% male, 61.7% white, over 30 years of age in 40% of cases. The warrior mentality, I mean, that's kind of related to psychopathy, you know. The warrior gene, you've heard about the warrior gene, have you? Externalizes blame, yeah, we mentioned that earlier. Loners, atypical behaviors, okay. So unusual behaviors.
I'm fascinated. I can't believe the over 30. That I found that surprised by that.
Yeah, but
what do you mean?
That means under 30 is 60%. So I'm not sure why they did that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This isn't the serial killers because this is mass murderer. So this is the people who the school shooters, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
so
they didn't put the 40% and not the 60% for the age. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's the
it is an unusual way of doing it.
Doubt these kind of it just makes me go, why?
Well, yeah, as I said on the disclaimer, don't take everything here as 100% gospel. Do your own research, and don't fucking kill anybody as well. By the way,
I don't know.
So
I feel like when you get older, you get tired. I'm just
I haven't got the energy to be a mess.
I don't have the energy for that. Sorry.
Oh, thank God for that. Right. Let me see here.
Gallows humor to get through this hell, man. I'm telling you, I don't know.
Say that again, brother Marcus.
I use gallows humor. I understand it's a serious topic.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I use gallows humor as well. I like it. Mass murderer characteristics: they give little thought or concern to inevitable capture or death. It's basically suicide by cop. They commit crimes in public places. Their motive is retaliatory, based on rejection, failure, or loss of autonomy. The offense is an effort to regain a degree of control over their lives. Okay. Now, there's another slide here. Mass murder characteristics. Okay, defining characteristics of a mass murderer. Yeah, we kind of read this. It's a bit like this. Some of the characteristics of a serial killer. Experience a lifetime of frustration, humiliation, and failure. Externalization of blame. Very angry, so oozing with anger. Fascination with guns, weapons, or violence. I mean, I am always a bit freaked out when you get like these muscle heads, like steroided fucking weirdos with like just profile picture of guns, and every fucking picture they're like shooting guns and shit. Clearly deranged individuals. They have a history of mental illness, for example, depression, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, intermittent explosive disorder, or conduct disorder, social isolation, conduct disorder. So that's like a explosive disorder. Yeah, that's somebody who just gets angry like all the time. Sometimes, you know what I mean? They just explode sometimes, you know.
Intermittent explosive IED. Oh, I never heard of this before.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
gonna bookmark
someone who just explodes of rage. You know, it's a bit like it's a bit like borderline, I suppose, but it's more kind of it's kind of just about the explosiveness. You know, they're just angry, get angry a lot. You know, some might say it's just an excuse.
That's interesting. You should say that, because when you're reading through all those characteristics, I mean, I share some of them. I'm not going to lie, and I think, like, when you
you are human. I mean, we all have we all have things like, you know.
It's like when you say serial killers and mass murderers have these general characteristics, probably 99% of the population goes, "Crikey, I've got 50% of those."
Yeah. There, but for the grace of God, go I.
I think that's what it is. I really do. Yeah.
Social isolation or recent loss. Yeah. Prevention of mass murderers. Target hardening is ineffective, and prediction schemes are ineffective or unreliable, according to this slide that says here. So it's very difficult to prevent. I presume one of the greatest ways of preventing it. Oh, sorry, it's actually a really poor slide. It's going to be anticlimax, but I will share it 1 second. Okay. I will share it now that you asked. 1 second. Share screen. 1 second. There you go. Can you see that?
Yes, thank you. Target hardening. I don't even know what that means.
Ineffective. Prediction schemes ineffective or unreliable. Target hardening. I mean, I'll look it up.
Does that
Why
mean
be lazy?
Deciding what your target or who your target's going to be, maybe?
Yeah, or it might be that just the target is hard to pin down. You know, as you said, most humans share these there's commonality, so it might be very hard to figure it out. You know, target.
Well, I guess that's an indictment of human. I was saying that that's an indictment of human nature. You know, but it's really, really deeply messy, I guess.
Oh, target. So like protecting your like security and
yeah, strengthening security measures to make a person, place, or object more difficult for criminals to attack. Okay.
Yeah,
basically.
Right.
So that makes sense. So basically, for example, putting up CCTV cameras around red light districts, or giving fucking gay young men security alarms or something, in gay bars or something. I don't know. Prediction schemes ineffective and unreliable.
I guess
so basically, it just seems that the target hardening
so you
is
can't
hard.
do anything for security or prediction. So nothing. We can't do anything.
It's very difficult. It just seems that when these people have these compulsions, they'll find a way around it. It's like that, doesn't it?
So
I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that if you take certain measures, it won't at least reduce it. It may, it has to reduce it somewhat, doesn't it? Having patrols.
There is evidence that shows that criminals will go for easier targets. Like if you're obviously not, if you're going to cause someone a problem as they try to rob you or something like that, or kill you, if they think you're going to put up any kind of a fight, there's a higher chance they'll not attack you. Whereas they'll seek out specifically.
I've read about these.
And it comes down to like this is the case with rapists. A lot of them. There's a book called The Dark Side of Man by Michael Giglieri. He has a bit in there about rapists, the opportunist types, and they literally will just look for the woman they think aren't going to fight back. That's what they do.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, they are like lions looking at a herd of zebras looking for the weak link. I mean, it's that fucking big. Yeah.
So this says a lot about the way you carry yourself in public. If you can show yourself to be confident, there's just it reduces the odds of you becoming a victim.
Yes, and here we go, guys. In terms of threat assessment, assessing the potential of for danger from an individual's utterances or behavior in regards to them being a mass murderer or serial killer. Low-level threat is vague. Okay, threat is implausible or inconsistent. Content of threat suggests person unlikely to carry it out. That's a low-level threat. Okay, so that's maybe on the radar, but not something to be taken serious with immediacy. Okay, medium level of threat is a direct, concrete threat. So obviously there seems to be that must mean there's a target. Okay, some details are given. Possible place and time articulated. Okay. Indication of preparatory steps, but vague. Okay. Statements of intent, such as "I'm serious." Now that's a medium level threat. Now that is something that I would say. Obviously, that it should be taken seriously. High level threats. These are the threat is direct, specific, and plausible. So, it's not some fantasist. This actually could happen. Okay. The threat suggests concrete steps taken in preparation. So this person has really planned it, okay, and there has been a weapon acquired, or they are like checking out the victim. They're stalking someone, or they're watching someone. There's some kind of observation going on, some serious planning going on. So that's the kind of how they evaluate the threats of an individual who's got the aforementioned traits and characteristics.
But then things can get really awkward even at that final stage. There's cases in Japan of stalking, and again it's typically men stalking women, and so the women go to the cops and say, "Look, I'm being stalked. Here's all the evidence," and the cops could say, "Well, we can't do something until something happens." That's basically the message they send. And I think that's the case in other jurisdictions as well, which is, it just blows my mind.
It's literally, it seems to be like they can't do anything until there's blood on the pavement sometimes. It's that insane. Yeah.
And it could just be a resource issue as well, rather than a legal issue. It just could be we don't have the management.
Yeah, I think it's like, it could be what you said earlier about the last couple of weeks ago about the justice system. Like, they just know that this isn't going to go through the courts. It's going to be a waste of resources, Whereas I would say, I think it's good to take someone in to show them that they're, even if it doesn't go to court, it's good to arrest someone. It's good to question them to show they're on the radar, But
if someone's psycho enough, that could be the event that pushes them over the edge.
That could be. It could be the final straw. They could think, yeah, you're right. It's fucking, you're right. Anyway, luckily there's criminologists who fucking understand this better than I do. Well, I would hope.
Do they have a YouTube channel that I could learn?
Oh, hopefully, if you can find it.
Sure, if you look it up, yeah. This conversation also makes me think about that guy Chris Watt. Don't know if you guys remember him. He's the guy.
Oh, that was the guy who killed his family, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy bastard. He was one sick bastard. He had a beautiful family, a beautiful wife, beautiful children, very happy family. He was living the American dream. He was rich. He was living in a nice neighborhood. And he started shagging someone else, didn't he? Some other bird, and then he killed his wife. And did he kill his own children as well?
Yeah.
Basically,
there's a whole lot more to it than that. Like it was just a storm of fuckity
craziness.
Yeah. The whole family.
So anyway, this is how to prevent serial killers or mass murderers, killing sprees. Reduce chronic strain. Stress, basically. So prevent bullying, social support for those at risk. So if you recognize these the traits in people, you can try and help them. Recognize or at least petition society or the politicians to set up services to help these types of people. Recognize difference between the troubled and the troublesome. Okay. Promote constructive images of masculinity. I suppose that is an issue here. Kind of the way that some people get demoralized or such because they're not deemed good enough, and that can add to their feelings of self-loathing, which is one of the factors that does create future serial killers, future mass murderers. Listening. 80% of people reveal their plans to someone, apparently. 59% to 2 or more people. So, apparently this is the case. Apparently, I've read it before. I've seen it on social media that, someone has made a fucking video saying they're going to do something and people fucking ignore it, So, yeah, listening.
Or it's just from some minor person who's no one's ever heard of. And then after they do the thing, suddenly, they find the video and it blows up.
Yeah. Gun availability. Yeah, this is more of an American thing. Do background checks, eliminate loopholes, limit automatic weapons, and ban high-capacity magazines. I mean, seriously, some of the guns they've allowed to be on the streets in America is absolutely insane. Stuff that, even the Ukrainian army would love to have, So stuff that shouldn't be in the hands of Joe Blogs,
Yeah, but I think, again, that comes down to a cliche. I think criminals are going to get guns regardless of the law.
They are, but I do think that I think that sorry.
What's the difference between troubled and the troublesome? I don't even know what the difference is with that.
Well, troubled
are the troubled and the troublesome.
I think troubled are people who have traits that are, for example, they're mentally ill or they're suffering because of life circumstances, and troublesome are people who are actually causing trouble for other people.
Okay.
Do you understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. What's this one here? I already read that. Surviving an attack. I told everybody about that earlier. Well, I think that's it. I think I'll leave it at that in terms of slides and shit. I mean, is there any kind of particular cases you want to look at or anything like that? Any kind of serial killers that you remember or that
kind of this case of someone who would bathe in women's blood. She was they did it's like a vampire kind of story.
Yeah, if you can find it, you can present it, Brother Marcus.
Bathing in
Elizabeth Bathory.
Do you want to read it, Brother Marcus? Do you want to present screen and read it if you want? I'll let you.
A Hungarian. Here, I'll post the link because I don't know how to use computers.
Yes, you do. All right. It's okay.
What's her name?
All right.
I put it in the private chat.
All right.
I'm going to share it now. I'll read it.
Bathory.
One second. I'm going to share it. 1 second. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, you can. Okay, so Elizabeth Bathory, Countess Elizabeth Bathory of Exeter, was a Hungarian noblewoman. So she was born in 1560, died in 1614, and an alleged serial killer from the powerful house of Bathory. Okay, who owned land in the Kingdom of Hungary, but now present-day Slovakia. Bathory and 4 of her servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds, oh my God, of girls and women from 1590 to 1610. That is one thing about serial killers. They always pick fucking, vulnerable, fucking innocent targets. You know what I mean?
It tends to be old people, women, and children. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't pick they don't go around killing fucking pedophiles or people who are causing them problems. They pick strange targets, but I think that's to do with the power thing. They need the person to be submissive because that's a compulsion. They want to kill. They want to be successful in their killing. And it is very disturbing.
There's
when you
one
see a woman
killer, Pedro Rodriguez Filho, I believe. He was.
Oh yeah, we mentioned him earlier. He's a Brazilian, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What about him though? Sorry.
Well, he killed criminals.
Oh right, yeah.
He was a serial killer of criminals. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Anyway,
Elizabeth Bathory. Yeah, she. What does it say here? She bathed in the blood of virgins to retain her youth. I mean, whether that's true or not is
So
debated.
she kills hundreds of women. Oh, here we go. Stories about Bathory quickly became part of a national folklore. Legends describing her vampiric tendencies, such as the tale that she bathed in the blood of virgins to retain her
Yeah, if
youth.
you're wondering how I found out this information, is because I was looking into the history of like what was it, Vlad the Impaler and vampires and Dracula. So that's
no need to explain yourself, Mark. We'll just take this as a thing.
Yeah.
Some insist Elizabeth's story inspired Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, really?
Anyway,
okay.
She was one sick lady, and there she is. She doesn't look too happy. And there you go. Right.
I guess that's kind of like Jack the Ripper as well as a serial killer, right?
Yeah, but they never caught him.
That might sound obvious,
him,
but like I don't remember a lot of this stuff. What?
They never caught him, but they do say that some people think he was like a Polish immigrant who escaped to. They say he escaped to America, actually.
Oh,
there's loads of. Yeah.
Right.
There's loads of conspiracy theories. Some people say he was a member of the aristocracy. Some people say he was a surgeon to the aristocracy. I mean, there's so many fucking conspiracy theories about Jack the Ripper. It's unbelievable.
Did you cover the Zodiac guy? The Zodiac?
No.
His name?
No.
Yeah,
you want to, Jay? Will you give me a break, or someone read about the Zodiac killer? I know that Marco doesn't want to.
Do you remember who that is? I saw there was movies about him, and
yeah, they didn't find him.
They
never found the guy.
Oh wow!
This was the guy writing letters, right? And he was like really getting
I mean, there's a good movie you can see, or a documentary.
Michelle, do you want to come on here? It'd be lovely to have a female perspective on this.
Yeah. But there's a good
Michelle,
thing on YouTube about the Zodiac killer. I think it may even be it's a movie or a documentary or something.
Well, I think there's like a Netflix drama on it as well, isn't there?
I think that's what's on YouTube.
Okay, we're going for 3 hours here, so it's a lot of time.
Yeah, from what I
are you coming on, Michelle? The link is there. You can come on and talk, Michelle. That's what I meant. Sorry. What did you say, Brother Marcus?
It was 2007. The American, like the movie that I remember called Zodiac. It was a good movie. The acting.
Do you want to give the kind of lowdown there on the Zodiac killer? What he did, or
what? With the Wikipedia thing?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I don't know how else to.
You can just read it out. You don't need to show it. You can just read it.
The Zodiac Killer is the pseudonym of an unidentified serial killer who murdered 5 known victims in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 1969. The case has been described as arguably the most famous unsolved murder case in American history. It has become both a fixture of popular culture and focus for efforts by amateur detectives. The Zodiac's known attacks took place in Vallejo, unincorporated Napa country. He attacked 3 young couples and a lone male cab driver. 2 of these victims survived. The Zodiac coined his name in a series of taunting messages that he mailed to newspapers, regional newspapers, in which he threatened killing sprees and bombings if they were not printed. Isn't this what Ted Kaczynski did too?
Yeah, I mean,
the what's his name? The bomber.
That was the university guy, was it? What do they call him? The
Unabomber, right?
Yeah, Unabomber. Yeah.
Okay.
But Kaczynski was a totally different kettle of fish. His motives for doing what he did were complete, as far as we know, because they never found the Zodiac guy. I mean, maybe that was Ted. Who knows?
Huh. You just released that on the internet. That's you opened up a whole new conspiracy.
He's going to sue me for that too. Goddamn Zodiac killer.
Why did Kaczynski do what he did?
It was the whole Luddite thing. He hated a broad overview. He hated where technology was headed. His manifesto is really interesting. It's worth a read. It's definitely worth a read.
It's kind of similar to like the Luigi case. I don't know if he was going to be a serial killer or not.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? He did it in a way where he must have known he was going to get caught.
Yeah.
But then again, I've seen I've seen it, the conspiracy kind of posts and theories pop up. Oh, that's not actually the guy that's on the camera.
Oh.
Jay, you're very quiet.
It's always the quiet ones.
It's always the quiet ones. Those are the ones, you give a side eye to. You're like, what are you up to?
I wonder. I hope I'm not one of his. I hope we're not one of his targets. That's what I'm hoping.
Wait, sorry, what?
Oh, good bluff.
I'm hoping I'm not one of your targets, Jay.
No, sorry, I was kind of falling asleep on myself. Sorry.
All right. Okay.
I'd like to publicly apologize to JE for all the offense I have given your way.
Apology accepted.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Well, the truth is,
what about like?
Hold on a second, Brother Marcus. There's only two sets here. There's a. I don't mean this offensively, but obviously your ethnicity, your race is slightly different to mine. So apparently it's intraracial. So it can only be white or Indian extraction. So we don't know which he's going for. It's either me and Steve or you. There's a 50-50 chance here, Steve. Brother Marcus, it's gone from. There's a 50-50 chance. Your odds have increased here, Brother Marcus.
Wow.
Wait, am I more at risk or less at risk? I don't know.
You're more at risk now that there's a 50-50 chance that it's because it's interracial, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, race is a construct.
That took a turn I wasn't expecting.
Sorry, dogs.
Wait, what about like female serial killers? Like, have there been like a lot of research done on them?
We actually had one that was pretty popular in Canada. Oh shoot, Terry Schiavo? Is that her name? Terry Schiavo? No. Crap.
Someone put it in the chat. I saw someone who she murdered her 5 kids.
Oh, that's probably who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Andrea Yates. It's from Michelle. I'm sorry, Michelle. Pasewak. I apologize if I messed your name up. Andrea Yates had mental issues and she unalived her 5 young kids. Yeah, matricide, I've heard. Again, I mean, you hear of cases.
Oh, Carla Homolka. Does that ring a bell?
No, I haven't heard that one.
No.
She was in the news a lot, or the name at least. Yeah, I got that mixed up with someone who. Terry Schiavo's got a completely different case. It's a woman who. 41-year-old Florida woman who was in a vegetative state for 15 years before her death. That's a different case.
Terry Shriver. Yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Carla Homolka is a Canadian serial killer who acted as an accomplice to her husband, Paul Bernardo, taking active part in the rapes and murders of at least 3 minors, and including her own sister. Jesus. Between 1990 and 1992.
And she was Canadian.
Yeah.
I think a similar thing happened in England, like maybe 100 years ago. A very similar case.
Who are your kind of the sickest serial killers? I think Rosemary and Fred West. They were sick fuckers, man. Do you know Rosemary and Fred West? They killed their own daughters and shit.
Maybe that's yeah. I've heard of them. Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
Wait, but if someone kills like with the woman you just mentioned who killed her 5 kids, wouldn't that just, I don't know if that could be classified as being a serial killer, because a serial killer usually kills different people over a period of time rather than just killing a lot of, I guess, 5 people within like one incident, I don't know.
Yeah, it might be a killing spree.
Yeah, that's a killing spree.
Yeah,
mass murder.
But if they haven't wait, which one? Which one? like if it's just 3, but then I don't even like saying that it was just 3, but like if they happen like one after the other in days apart, then that would technically be a serial killer, right?
Apparently, killing sprees can. They probably still depends. Like they're still kind of moving around. They're still in that mode. You know what I mean? The killing mode. It wasn't really an off period because they're still going around. They're trying to kill. You know what I mean? I'd still consider that a killing spree. You know, because they're still like there's no real cooling off. You know.
I forget if the killers of and the torture of I'm going to pronounce her name wrong. Junko Furuta. If they went on
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they killed other people too, but I could be wrong about that. I mean, given what they did to her, Jesus.
When that was about 30 years ago or something, wasn't it?
I believe. When did it happen?
Junko Furuta.
Yeah, it was a Japanese.
She died in 1989, right? So around that time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think I know the case you're talking about. Yeah, that's the same girl. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah.
When I first heard that story, that one to this day, I think it still haunts me. Whenever I think about like this story of, people use the ones that walk away from Amalos and all that stuff. Like I always think about that case and like that's like almost a real life case of like someone
right.
Yeah, going through some bad shit. And
I'm just jumping on the Wikipedia page. I mean, her killers and they were torturers as well. I mean, they were teenagers. Oldest was 18, youngest, 16, 17, 17, 18. Jesus fucking Christ.
That I find fast, like, because like there was this Slender Man thing where 2 teenage girls like killed it wasn't even like they were younger than that. They were like 11 or 12, something. It's just how could, I mean, it's hard to put my brain in someone else's head, but like to be that young and then to do such horrendous things is baffling to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, but then again, so many young kids, they bully other kids, so like I guess we really shouldn't be all that surprised that some of them will take an extra step and go into killing,
Yeah, so in 2020,
because
2 12-year-old girls, Anissa Weiner and Morgan Geiser, lured their friend Peyton Lutner into a wooded area and stabbed her 19 times to appease the fictional supernatural character Slender Man and prove that he was real. Jesus.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we never mentioned tonight was the kind of tyrannical mass murderers, or the war crime mass murderers, the people who kill like thousands or millions of people in a war or in a genocide.
Like Hitler?
I mean, that is, yeah, like Hitler. Like you could name a lot of politicians who've been in power, who've started wars and stuff, and just people who've given the go ahead for people to be killed in the tens, in the thousands, in the millions. I mean, this is all just levels of disconnection from others. So you've got the disorganized individual impulsively doing it. You've got the organized people doing it for their own egotistical agenda, and then you've got the kind of powerful organized killers who are killing hundreds of thousands or millions of people for their own agenda, but also in a kind of more their own agenda. It's different to the agenda of the kind of typical organized serial killer, because that person's agenda is entirely about themselves. But the kind of mass murderer who's doing it on a global scale is doing it to change the world, or to control lots of people. So there's like an externalized focus of the power, if you know what I mean. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You remember Unit 731? Was that it? 731. Yeah. Does this ring a bell to any of you guys?
Can you say it again, please?
Unit 731.
Oh, right. That was Germany's. Or was that Japan's? That was Japan's, I think. Yeah, that was Japanese. They were renowned for the experiments.
Covert Biological and Chemical Research and Development Unit in Imperial Japanese Army that engaged in lethal human experimentation and biological weapon manufacturing.
Yeah.
It pretty much just like government torture of people. And
yeah. They just, I mean, look, the Japanese military they were next level, man. Seriously, when they went through Nanking.
I was going to say the rape of Nanking or the massacre there. These are government stuff, like not serial killers.
Oh yeah. But then again,
but I don't think there was any. I think all governments did that type of shit throughout the ages. It's just modernity.
Absolutely. But it does raise. I mean, there's obviously these topics raise a million questions, but
I mean, the interesting thing is, what would people do if they were given an opportunity? This is the interesting thing about this kind of brief and like shallow look into criminology. It is like, if the social norms change, okay, if the people around you are doing something, what would you do? You know what I mean? That's a scary question.
Do you remember the Milgram experiment?
Is this the one where they were electrocuting the person and they were told to do it normal? Yeah.
A good number of people just kept going, just because someone asked.
Yeah. Just because a member of authority was telling them to do it, just because it was normalized. Yeah.
And then I think
the person who was pretending to get electrocuted was screaming sometimes, weren't they?
Yeah.
And terrifying.
And then, of course, there's
some of those organizations.
Yeah, the Stanford prison experiment has been debunked. That's actually
that one's more sketchy than the Milgram one.
Yeah,
but Milgram still found, like, I think that was replicated as well, and that was. I think. Oh, it's.
Right, don't forget, others watching don't know. The people watching don't know may not know the experiments. So you can describe them for them.
It's like 65% going up to. They say 450 volts, which I think like kills a person or severely.
Insane, isn't it? Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I think they might have even said that this might kill the person, but please do it anyway. Yeah, they were saying stuff like that, weren't they?
And it's so easy for us to sit here and go, "Oh, that's crazy," but I wonder. I mean, how would I react? Like, how?
I'll be honest here. I think now I wouldn't do it now, but I will be honest. When I was younger, because I was like, nervous sometimes, around authority or whatever, I might have done it. Because if I felt pressurized into do it before my mind was fully formed, do you know what I mean? If I had been like 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, before my brain was fully formed, like as a guy, your brain takes a while to mature. I think I could have been persuaded to. And I think that's why a lot of these, these soldiers that go to war, they're young guys, generally speaking, their brains aren't even fully fucking mature. And they're running around on the battlefield and they're just doing what they're told. And not many young soldiers question what they're being told to do, because it's incomprehensible to question what you're being told to do at that age, because you think that the older people know what they're doing.
True, but I think that simplifies it quite a lot, oversimplifies it. Like, you've got people who go into the military to get an education for free, and they don't expect to end up in Iraq, for example. That's and also the conscripts. Like, I don't know if the stories are true in Ukraine about dragging young guys off the streets, but there is such a thing as conscription. So you're going to throw guys into these fucking meat grinders, and what choice do they have, really? You're told if you don't advance, we'll shoot you from the back, kind of thing. That those kind of stories.
Yeah, terrifying stories. Yeah.
Oh, horrific. Just horrific. Imagine that. I've even read ages like, men aged between 16 and 60, and I'm thinking, oh Christ, you don't want to put me in a battlefield. I wouldn't know what to do. Seriously, what am I going to do? What's a guy in his 50s going to do in a fucking trench? Talk philosophy or something. Now, gentlemen, we don't need to do this based on something.
Now, according to Hannah Arendt, with the banality of evil, there is this.
No offense, Brother Marcus, but I think you might get shot by one of your own.
It's probably suicide by philosophy. It's probably the best way to go
out. Oh dear.
Wait, so Brother Marcus,
But I think
Brother Marcus,
B&W,
so
you raised a really interesting point before as well about like the real mass killers like Stalin, Hitler, and those guys, and Pol Pot who just kill millions by proxy. Like they're not actually the ones pulling the triggers or stabbing people, whatever they do, but they just give orders. I mean,
it's like Charles Manson on steroids, isn't it? Basically, they didn't do the killing.
There's a lot of ifs, ands, and there's a lot of umming and ahhing about that case, about the legitimacy of the conviction. But let's assume that the story is true as told. Yes, you're right.
Oh, I didn't know that. Tell me about that then. There's questions about Charles. I don't really. I kind of. It's one of those cases that you hear so much about that you almost forget the details, because it's just told so many times. Like I know about the women and the women did things for him. And go on, tell us why it's questionable.
Look, I'm the same. I'm the same as you. It's been a while since I looked at it, but I'm just going to make an ass of myself here. I have watched stuff before, and it does seem to me that like his lawyer or the prosecution lawyer was apparently on a real big witch hunt or something. Look, honestly, I've forgotten the details. I just recall that there was a lot of
he's one person that had a fucked up life though. He was born to a prostitute mother, and like he had a really shit childhood, and he went into like shoplifting and thieving from during his childhood.
Like I'm certainly not saying he's not a crazy wacko, but it does seem that there may have been holes in the case in retrospect. But again, details, I'm sorry, I don't know. But it's definitely interesting to look into. I mean, have you seen some of his jailhouse interviews?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's lauded as some intellectual, brilliant. I think he's just a madman. He just comes out with all bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's the line between madness and genius? And I think he's been in solitary, hasn't he, for the whole time? So that's going to.
He's dead now, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was racist as well, wasn't he? He was all about segregation, and he was a crazy bastard.
But again, that was probably normal-ish for that kind of time.
At the time.
But, yeah. Again, I'm sure if you were to do a profile of the guy, again, you'd probably look at it and go, gosh, some of those things apply to me. It is but by the grace of God we do go.
Yeah. Wait, so I wanted to ask Brother Marcus about serial killer traits within the antinatalist community, because I think you guys mentioned it earlier, a lot of those traits even apply to people within our community itself, so there's a good question there about how much does our philosophy and way of thinking, our worldview, pessimistic worldview, lend credence to those type of people within the community.
Can I ask you not to name names or anything like that? I don't want to get in shit. Yeah.
Let me just adjust my fedora and open up my phone. No, I think that was for you, Marcus. I think he was asking you.
Well, there's a certain interview I conducted with someone that we talked about some studies about the dark triad traits, and I mean, yeah, they're there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's there, and I warn people about it. And then there's the connection that Lanza did watch this. Oh, sorry, you said no names. I mean, that's a documented thing, but
there wasn't an ephilism, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the AN online space,
yeah, true.
It bleeds over into each other, and you're talking about a community with those traits. It just is what it is, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Was darn Ephilis, man.
But you could say the same thing about the Royal College of Surgeons. There's a lot of psychopaths there, but they're not doing anything terribly bad.
But I wouldn't even say, oh, the Ephilis. It's just because people are using this label to try to scapegoat, and no, some people just don't like the term, but they still have the same beliefs. So, someone who's even I never want to call myself that, they could share the exact same traits.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah,
think
true.
I'm saying anything
I
controversial.
think with Lanza, I mean, yes, there's a connection, but it's got to be careful not to overstate that influence. I don't think, no one's responsible except for Adam Lanza for what he did, but there is still a lot of stuff. So,
well, I mean, like if you look at the qualities of like what we just covered today, and it just even any cursory thing, and I'm not saying this is a unique community or space, because I've seen it also in like the incel, the black pill, like those spaces as well. Actually, I think I'm more scared of those spaces. This one tends to be like people who sometimes can't take care of themselves, and
Yeah, I think most people are talking about the suffering of others here. They don't actually enjoy people's suffering, which can be a good thing, because that means they're not
rush to that conclusion too quickly.
not all of. No, I'm saying most people. I'm saying obviously there's people that do enjoy other people's suffering. I'm saying it seems most people get upset by the suffering of others. So there's no, they don't seem to be sadistic, which is a good thing.
Where do you see that?
I think most of the AN. I think most people.
So I dare you to ask any administrator who had to filter out people posting gore content and
but is that most of
the
them?
high levels of Schadenfreude in the space? I
would you say
you
most
don't see it
content,
because it gets filtered out?
Yeah. You were an admin, right, or something, were you?
Yeah, for like 2 weeks, and I couldn't even handle it.
Was most of the content, would you say, problematic then?
Yes.
Most of it.
Well, a lot of memes. There's a lot of memes.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to refer back to something that Amanda said, that she said she's had to talk down a lot of ethilists from going out and randomly killing people and animals.
Really?
That's a quote from her.
Wow, interesting.
She's had to talk a lot of them down, and that's
really concerning.
Yeah, it blows my mind that didn't become bigger. Like, why? That to me is a hell of a thing to say.
It is, yeah. That's really, really serious, yeah.
Well, now that you know, like, what can you do, right? That's what happens.
And I've seen stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff which I never talk about, which honestly just makes me go, oh fuck, this is ridiculous. What am I doing here?
Well, before I used to post like almost weekly, or like it got tiresome, because you spend 1 week in this space and you'll see someone talking about harming others. It's just part of the thing, and I get I'll post about the high profile ones, but other than that, that's all you can do, and or you can get out, but
Don't go on Twitter.
I don't think it's just unique. I don't think it's just unique to AI.
No, that's what I'm saying. Don't go on Twitter, because they're trying to. It's everywhere, isn't it? People depends. Online does seem to be that type of place. People do kind of what's the word? They become bigger version. Their evil becomes a bigger version of itself than it would otherwise on the street. You know what I mean? Because there's no one around.
I remember when I first hit YouTube's I was using the example with the animal rights world and the vegan world. I mean, I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to think that there are people out there who think that the meat is murder, right? And so if they're going to have that type of mentality, they're going to maybe in closed spaces wish harm upon carnists. And I don't think that's a controversial statement either. I think or I don't think that's like a stretch of imagination. So I've seen that. I've seen people like wish harm and to like people who harm animals, and I don't even mean it that, like people who aren't vegan, right? So that's a space outside of AN where I've seen that type of rhetoric. And political, if you go to different political extremes, you'll find people who are okay with harming and killing other people. And
I think there's a difference though, and like one thing I notice in if we broadly call it the antinatalist ethilist area, the problem that I see is that it's not just about permissiveness. It goes a bit further sometimes, and it talks about the ethicality of doing that.
True, that's true.
Yeah.
That is unique. Yeah.
And that's when it becomes that's obviously when it becomes a problem to me. So, or to, I guess, not just to me, of course, but when you start saying that kind of stuff is an ethically optional or ethically obligatory, whew. And you see some of the stuff they say on, I mean, again, you don't, you just go and have a look for yourself, and it won't take you long to find shit that people say.
Yeah, like
So,
a minority, but you do recognize that's like part of the space, right? Do you know? There's no way you're ignorant of that stuff.
I think
sorry,
also,
yeah, no, I do. No, of course, I recognise that there's people who say atrocious things. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know whether it's all. I don't think it's the majority. That's what I'd say. I'd say most people who come to
but
AN.
it's enough of an issue that ignoring it becomes.
Oh yeah. No, the problem is it's always an issue, isn't it? And I think that any potential problem like that is an issue, definitely, because one person can do a lot of harm. Yeah. I mean, and I think that is potentially harmful is an issue. Even if it's like 1 million people and one person wants to do something really terrible, then it's a fucking issue, isn't it? Because I don't think that endangers innocent people is an issue.
Or random animals, because I remember there was conversations about killing random animals, and I don't know if there's evidence for it, but I think some people in this space have done that, right?
That's an interesting question, though. We didn't talk about that, but this is another problem. Like, what about people who get enjoyment out of killing animals, like lots of animals? Like, we were a bit speciesist this evening. We just talked about humans killing humans, but what about some humans getting sadistic pleasure from killing animals? I mean, obviously, in their childhood,
isn't that one of the predictors? Isn't that one of the predictors?
Yeah, I was about to say that in their childhood, that is predictive of their future, serial killing nature of humans. But there are some humans who stay within that. They get like pleasure from killing animals.
Like hunters.
I remember a few years ago in London, we had this. There was a fear that there was someone called the cat killer going around, and they were killing cats. It was, I think, it was since debunked. They said it was actually foxes doing it. I haven't heard about it since, but there was a worry that there was someone going around decapitating domestic cats. Grabbing them off people's doorsteps and like killing them in horrible ways. But yeah, no, there are definitely people out there in the world who do that. Abuse animals, and yeah, it's terrifying. But
well, there's a very prominent person in this community who has on record that he's buried 50 cats, and that is a pretty fucking vague statement.
Right. So there you go. It does happen. People kill animals for different. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, J.E., how do you? So you asked the question. What do you think, or what do you feel about that answer? Those answers, or the commentary we just had?
Oh well, yeah. It's it's obviously very concerning, but I guess that's why I've mainly kind of withdrawn myself from watching a lot of the content, because you never know what the person may be thinking, or even watching their content, you never know if you could be encouraging them to maybe take things a step further and go out and actually do something harmful to other people, so it makes you very, very extra cautious about who you're engaging with in this community.
Okay. Yeah, this community. I object to that.
You object to what?
Calling me part of the community. He said this community. I'm joking, Jerry.
Oh.
You tried to check out, mate, but you can never leave.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, anybody else want to come on here? The link is there. Otherwise, we will shut this down soon. It is actually quite late here, so It's no harm.
So is the lesson that we can't do anything?
So the lesson from all of this?
Yeah, we can't protect ourselves.
No, we can't. We can look out for others. We can look for troubled people to try to encourage them to get help. We can signpost them to authorities. We can also make authorities aware of any worries we have about people. We can also be a voice for victims of society, and we can also, if you're around people talk like this, you can move yourself out of those communities so that it doesn't become normalized for you. If you are having dark thoughts, you yourself can get therapy, okay, so you don't get worse. I think that's mostly it. And then obviously we talked about, if you're in a fucking situation where there's nutters around you kicking off, it's good to know self-defense. It's good to know to run. If you can't run, hide. If you can't hide, then fight. If you have to fight, know self-defense. Yeah, and don't be afraid to defend yourself fully when you're in such a terrible situation. But yeah, there are things you can do, but hopefully you'll never have to. That's the I suppose what we've learned. And
serial killers are rare, right? Like, they don't make up a lot of the population anyway.
No, it is a rare phenomenon, thankfully. But still, there's a lot of violence on the streets. There's a lot of other things happening, sexual assaults and stuff. There's a lot of unfortunate victimization out there in this world of people by predators. So very careful. And yeah, Michelle says, if you have active shooting or someone stabbing people on the street or whatever it is, run or hide. Yes, well done, Michelle. Good advice.
That's why I don't leave my apartments. I'm forever hiding.
Yes. That's if you can afford to do that, then that's good advice as well.
I was joking. Don't.
I know. So, guys, any closing remarks for this show? I'll go around. UF dogs will go around clockwise. UF dogs, got anything?
No, really interesting topic, mate. Cheers for doing it. I enjoy your streams. I often listen, even if I'm not commenting. I often just put it on, have a listen, because I think they're really cool. So good man.
Oh, cheers, bro. Thank you. Just skeptical. Got anything to say in closing?
All I have to say is don't be a serial killer. That's it. Just don't be a serial killer. Be nice.
Yep. Thank you. And Brother Marcus, anything to say?
Yeah, interesting topic, and be safe, and that's it. Yeah. Godspeed.
Yeah. Okay, Brother Marcus, thank you. So yeah, basically, guys, if you are having dark thoughts, if you want to hurt others, I would say it's not going to bring you any joy. It's going to make your life worse. So definitely seek help. If you have an innate desire to hurt other people.
Sounded like you just did Steve Hale.
No, I said seek help. Definitely seek help. But yeah, I unfortunately I can see the tonal similarity there. But yeah, definitely seek help. From a medical practitioner, a psychologist, or whatever. From a friend that you trust, from a family member that you trust. Also, look out for others. Don't be the person that causes someone else to snap. Don't cause someone else to become mentally problematic. Don't bully people. Don't be mean. Don't isolate others. Be kind. Watch others. As we learned tonight, 80% of people tell others what they're going to do. So listen to others. Take threats seriously. Inform authorities if you think someone is going to cause harm to others or kill others. Don't take it lightly. Okay, put it on the radar, because innocent people may suffer if you don't. So generally, be kinder. Don't cause others to suffer psychologically. Don't create more monsters. And seek help if you're having dark thoughts. And I hope that you also learn how to protect yourself, get self-defense lessons, or watch some videos online about how to defend yourself. Keep yourself as fit as possible so that you can run away from, problematic situations, and so that you can also protect yourself if needs be. Hopefully, none of this will ever happen to you or your loved ones or anybody. Be very careful out there. The world is an extremely dangerous place, but try to create a little bubble within this hellscape reality at times, where you can enjoy life as best as you can with people around you that have your interests in mind, and that you can help through this strange reality. Anyway, guys and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. We had a conversation, and we learned a little bit about something that was very unsavory, but it is what it is. This reality isn't always pleasant, and it's good to be aware of the darker aspects of it, so that we can be more ready for any tragic circumstances that may happen, and we can act with intelligence and forethought. Okay, take care, everybody. That's it. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.